bright lights in the big city. We're live from Johannesburg. Very good morning to you. Yes, you're not seeing double. It's nice to be back with you. Evan Jansen is my name. Been a little bit missed working with you, Kendall.
No, really happy to have you back. Evan is back. He's back in the saddle. It's great. It's not going to be the longest of stints, but I do know that it's something I'm going to enjoy. Welcome back, Evan.
Thank you. Just for today. Hopefully you guys can get on with the job over the holidays. But yeah, filling a little void today. And of course, it's very much the day after the night before. New top six, new leadership for the governing party, ANC, in South Africa. What do you make of it? That's our question, Kendall, that we're asking to the viewers today.
A lot of people are calling it a unified top six, what with everything that has been said and done prior to this national conference of the ANCs. And we want some comments from you to tell us, what do you make of this top six? Didi Mabuza, he's the deputy president of the ANC, and Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of the ANC. Christine Ngumalo comes in with the top six reflects the sad reality of women not supporting women. Yes, only one woman in that top six. She says the ANC Women's League is an embarrassment and really stands for nothing, says Christine.
Tough words there. This one from Recount. So can we have it? There we go. It's definitely not what I wanted with the three shady characters, he says, that did everything in their power to shield and protect wrongdoing. It's very unfortunate that CR will have to work with these haters, he says. He sees him as useless and a nobody. What a destructive leadership. Of course, the conversation, Recount, has been unity. Yes, if you've been watching this very channel, and I must say that the broadcast has been fantastic so far. Really enjoyed watching it. But unity has been the discussion. That's been the main point of departure. And if you look at what happened with the acceptance of the results, it looks as if unity will be a push out of this conference going forward.
Yeah, let's hope it does prevail all the way going through to the elections in 2019. We've got a poll that we want you to interact with us on as well. And it's also about the ANC top six. And we're asking you, do you think this new ANC top six will regain the lost voters' confidence?
50-50. Oh, 50-50. Divided. Well, that was almost the split that we had throughout the voting process.
Absolutely.
For the top six itself. It was very close. I think the top spot had less than 0.5 of a percentage point.
Absolutely.
In it, which was really incredible to see. Malcolm Noel tweets us, he says, as long as they work together, they can regain voters' confidence, but it's not going to be an easy journey. I think that's what the leadership accepted.
Yeah, margins is what we're talking about here. Alpha Male says, not with Didi Mabuza and S. Magashule in that top six. They will stop Cyril from fighting corruption, also protecting their skins, as Alpha's, that's his comment on that matter right there.
Yeah, on a personal note, I saw something in Johannesburg this weekend, Kendall, that I'm a little bit shocked about. 555 of our fellow drivers caught for drunken driving here in Johannesburg. Now, it's a festive season. It's a time of the year where we all want to travel and be safe and see our families far away.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know,
555 drunk drivers in a weekend.
And you know what, but it seems like retailers and brewers are taking advantage of that. Here's somebody just released a beer in a litre over the festive season.
Don't drink it while you're driving. That's what we say. Anyhow, let's take a look at our top stories right now on SABC News. This is Newsroom. Oh, we're not there. You see, I'm out of practice.
No worries. No worries.
Mr. Sports Question.
We also have a sports question, Evan. I think a lot of Mamelodi Sundowns fans will be happy that we remembered it, because we want to find out from you, will Mamelodi Sundowns be able to maintain their unbeaten run going into the Christmas break? They play Cape Town City tonight.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, some of the tweets. Alex Mutapo tells us, yes, Sundowns is a team. They play the champagne football. Okay, champagne football.
Alpha Male comes in again and says, yes, he does believe Sundowns is the most successful team in Southern Africa, so they will win this one with ease.
Yeah, time now for us to take a look at the top stories right now. Messages of best wishes continue to trickle in for the ANC's newly elected president and top six. And Eskom has again denied reports that its suspended acting CEO, Machela Koko, has been reinstated by the power utility. In the United States, an Amtrak passenger train traveling on a new route for the first time derailed in Washington state, killing at least 3 people there. Let's go over to Kendall for a quick sports update.
Evan, thank you very much. It really is good to be riding alongside you as we take this program into midday. Good morning to you. This is what we've got for you in sports today.
One goal, and that's a great ball. Now passing down is in here. Chance for down, and finally!
Mamelodi Sundowns on a 6-match unbeaten run as they take to the field against Cape Town City ahead of the PSL's Christmas break.
Rooney's second penalty of the evening. He'll be hoping it's better than the first, and it is.
Wayne Rooney comes good with his second penalty for Everton as the Toffees crossed Swansea City 3-1 in the English Premiership last night. And Ferrari threatens to stage a walkout of the Liberty-owned Formula One if the sport becomes too much like the US-based NASCAR series. All this we'll have for you in more detail. I'll also be doing a sports focus with Evan around about 9:45, 9:50. For now, it's back to Evan, who's got the news.
Yeah, thank you, Kendall. Very good morning to you once again if you've just joined us. Of course, South Africa and the world continues to react to the happenings political here in South Africa over the last 24 hours. We've been bringing you all the reaction on this very platform. Let's go to Nasrec now, where it's all been happening since yesterday. Of course, our news team is standing by to give us an update on the elective conference. What's happening there right now? Ayanda Mhlongo.
That a person who will close that conference will be Cyril Ramaphosa.
Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma received 2261 votes, and Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa received 2440 votes. We declare Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa as the new president of the African National Congress.
Well, a very good morning to you and welcome to Nasrec, where we continue this morning with our coverage of the 54th National Conference of the ANC. And of course, last night, the developments, the announcement of the new leadership of the ANC, and today marks the start of a new era. President Cyril Ramaphosa is now officially the new ANC president. He will lead the ANC for the next 5 years. And I'm sure since last night, this has been the debate. I'm sure lots of people continued throughout of the night discussing and speaking about their reaction, their comments, some surprised, some not, some happy, some not so happy. I know that some of the people we were just chatting to said that they're trying to get a few hours of sleep just this morning so that they can come back and continue with this conference. It certainly has been the subject of much debate, and I guess just not only here at Nasrec, the country is talking about these new developments. The world is talking. There's been so much interest from around the world on what will happen at this ANC conference. The debate is continuing. The reactions are continuing, and for us as the SABC, we started this morning chatting to the leaders of the ANC, getting their different reactions and comments on the new leadership. So much has been spoken. These stakes were certainly very, very high at this conference. And one of the leaders of the ANC veterans that the SABC spoke to earlier this morning was Tokyo Sehwale. And he said that he was quite happy with the way in which the election took place. There was a lot of concern whether or not the conference would collapse, whether or not the election would in fact take place. You would remember even just before the nominations that there was much debate around processes and how it was going to transpire. A number of delays as well in the election, starting from midnight and continuing out throughout the day. And even yesterday, people were on their toes It was the nail-biting hours as people kept on asking, when are the results coming? When are the results coming? And finally, yesterday afternoon, the world then knew who had become the new ANC president. But just speaking of ANC veteran Tokyo Sexwale, he, of course, had his comments about what he thought. And, of course, there was a lot that was said, that this was a do-or-die conference of the ANC. There was certain not the ANC would come out of this conference more unified. And let's listen to what he had to say.
We expected this conference to be a rough one. Over the last few conferences of the ANC, splits have arisen thereafter. It does appear this time round, ANC members, as we prayed, that they'll find one another, that there'll be wisdom. It does appear that one thing that is not happening is a split. So we say, the end justifies the means. What was the end? Unity. Let's stay together. And what were the means? It doesn't matter how we got there. The fact of the matter is that ANC people are saying we're going nowhere. Ons Dagni, ons Paula Iso. So, but therefore, the problems remain. You are now in the same house. You got to sit down, look up and sort them, because those problems have not gone away.
I mean, Tokyo Sexwale, an ANC veteran in his own right, has certainly served the ANC and is much respected within the ANC, and a person of his caliber, it would be important for him to share his words of advice to the new leadership of the ANC. This is what he had to say to them.
Of this leadership, the first target of Cyril Ramaphosa, Comrade Cyril, Comrade President, is now to have a strategy on what to do with this monster that has got us to be where we are. We look ugly, make us look good again. So what would I say is the first task of a president like Cyril? Remember, we're co-accused. Cyril and I were accused, Matthew also, of plotting to overthrow the government, of plotting to take the presidency. Okay, now it has happened in a different way. And that came from very dangerous reports which were written about him, about us, okay? He knows where that comes from, that there are secret intelligence reports written by faceless ghosts outside there, naming all sorts of people, all lies on your table. Be careful. The first thing the president should do is never to allow these funny envelopes with names of people coming to you and then you take decisions, because they'll let you kill your own mother in that report. So keep away from that. Madiba advised that a president must not be fed with gossip and then he believes that thing and start going away. We're where we are because Cyril was called a plotter. I was his co-accused. That's where the problems of the ANC started for the first time, because we had never seen this. This was under Tabo's administration. That was sorted out and all other things came. So we have got to say, this leadership, look corruption in the eye. That one is not a bygone. That's the focus, because it's about the budget of the people on health, education, housing, and so on. So it's got to be done the way it's got to be done. We congratulate all of them, you know, but stand up, be steadfast, show leadership, because leadership is not about negotiations. You can negotiations. Finally, you can use that process, but it's about decisive, resolute decisions to correct wrongs within the ANC, and then, of course, society can accept you.
Tokyo Sexwale there on his words of advice to the new leadership of the ANC. I guess certainly they're going to need it. It's still going to be a long road ahead for the ANC as it tries to rebuild itself and unite its members that have been so divided in the build-up to this conference. Now, of course, not only was this conference about the ANC, but also looking at the relationship with the alliance. It has had its challenges along the way. The comments, calls from the alliance about the leadership of the ANC under the now former president of the ANC, Jacob Zuma. So the alliance was a very important unit in this conference. They were also watching it very closely. It was very important. Leaders have stressed the importance of building a stronger, more united alliance. Cosatu, the SACP, and Sanko. And again, the SABC has spoken to the SACP's Soli Mapaile, who he said that looking at the outcome of these results, that there is no faction that has won. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Won, actually. what has come out, it's unity of the movement. And I think that because the factions had expected scenarios, even the public generally, but what has come out, it's a system that forces the organization to self-reflect, reconnect with itself and unite itself so that it can carry out the mandate proper. And that's what we think the great winner here was the African National Congress.
Soli Ma Baile from the SACP, and sharing, of course, his thoughts about the results of this conference. Now, we move on to another topic, and of course, I think for women, the results of this conference mean certainly a number of steps back. Already there's many who've been fighting for women's rights, who've been pushing and wanting to see more women in the ANC taking up more prominent positions in the ANC. I guess that there's been comments that really they feel that women have lost out. Their hopes were on the fact that Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma would have become the next president of the ANC, but only one woman now securing a position in that top six, being the Deputy Secretary General Zingiswa Losi. And I beg your pardon, being Jessie Duarte. Just speaking of Zingis, of course, she was contesting Jessie Duarte, and she herself was quite disappointed with the outcome. I guess also looking at the other positions and the other women that were contesting some of the other positions, that hopefully more women would have made it to the top six. And this is what she had to say.
We have noticed that, and I think it is a sad reflection from where we were to what we are now in relation to 6, because we have always argued that what will be in the best interest of the African National Congress regarding also its own policy in relation to a 50-50, it will be that delegates would be conscious of that gender policy that they would have adopted of having a 50-50. But in the current situation, the reality is we have only one woman who has then emerged in the top 6 of the ANC. And I think that it will then mean the branches of the ANC must have a deep reflection on the outcome, because it is the branches that would have then made that decision. And we cannot undermine that decision, because it's a decision of the branches who choose their own leadership. But also, we are thinking as Cosatu that it is a time for a reflection from the branches of the ANC to say, are we moving forward or are we regressing in relation to our own implementation of our own policies?
Zingiswa Losi, they're quite not happy with the fact that women have not been able to secure some more of the positions there in the top 6. And I guess this debate around the comments around gender is going to be much spoken about today. We're also awaiting the NEC and how it's going to be made up, and who amongst the women in the ANC are going to get onto that NEC. It's not just those in the leadership that have been talking about this and gender equality, but also analysts and social commentators, and Professor Dinigo Malulega also had this to say about this.
The interesting thing about this is that it also illustrates what I've been saying for the last day or two. It's one thing, there's a dissonance between the symbolism of having women in office and having substantive qualitative engagement, and their ability to actually shift the policy, the culture, the ambience of political discoursing. That's the one dimension of that. So I think having women talking bodies is one thing, but I think we need to be very cognizant that symbolism should not be substance. Secondly, I think Lungiswa makes an excellent point, is that this has to be an organic organizational transformation. You cannot expect a culture to be parachuted in by a couple of personalities at the top. If at the grassroots, at the branch level, at the institutional and organizational level, there isn't an intentional, a consistent attempt to understand that, you know, to have a kind of a gendered dialogue, a gendered culture, a feminist culture, a culture that understands the dynamics between women and men constantly, we're not going to get the results that are needed in terms of a transformative organization.
I think what has happened here is that the electorate, the delegates, have been sold a myth, and that myth is unity above everything else. And they think voting like this will create unity. But underlying that myth is a patriarchal system, which they have also bought into, because not only because they want to project it on top, but because it is real in their branches. They live it, they feel it, and so they reproduce it. So there is no real contradiction, if you like, between the outcome and the lived realities of the women and the men inside of the branches.
Gender equality is seemingly going to be a subject again of much debate and commentary, I guess, throughout the rest of this conference and even afterwards. It's something that I guess the Women's League and those that have been supporting women within the ANC, that they discuss this further. But just before I go, information that is just coming to us, which is quite important, is that we understand that there is going to be a possible recount. We are hearing, not confirmed yet, we will be chatting with the ANC, that there is some 68 votes that seemingly were not counted. As I said, we're still going to be getting more information about that, but that is the breaking news that we can give to you now as the SABC, that we learned that there is going to be a possible recount. There is a special committee that is now sitting, and we will be giving you the latest on those developments. And I guess as this conference continues, that is going to be something that a lot of people are going to be rather interested in. All right, I'm now joined my colleague Peter Ndoro. He is here. Peter?
A very good morning to you, Ayanda. Yeah, certainly quite an interesting development that you've just mentioned there, but as you say, we will be all over during the course of this morning. Just to let you know that the presidential election and the leadership election isn't the only thing that the ANC is here to do. In fact, throughout the course of this, it's a small percentage of the work that they had to do, because what's important is the policies that the ANC needs to adopt. They had a policy conference earlier in the year, and many of the issues that were discussed there are going to be dealt with again in various policy committees and adopted by this conference as the highest decision-making body, and that'll be the policy that the future president of the ANC, or if he's the president of the country rather, will have to follow as the mandate of the party. Today, since 7 o'clock this morning, the Progressive Business Breakfast has been happening, and the Women's League, they're supposed to have a press conference at 10 o'clock, and they'll probably be facing some questions as to why women didn't do so well in this particular round of elections. And there'll also be rolling briefings of sectoral policies being adopted at the 54th National Conference, and various other activities which we'll bring to your attention during the course of the day. So that's the day ahead, Ayanda.
Yeah, Peter, it's going to be yet another very, very busy day. As you said, very, very more important points on the agenda that the delegates here will be deliberating on. So it's going to be yet another long day for everyone that is here. But the SABC will be giving you the full coverage of the ANC's 54th National Conference. Let's go for a short break, and our coverage continues after this.
Yeah, we're not going to a break. Thanks, Ayanda. Ayanda Mhlongo, been bringing us all the very latest and best from Nasrec. Our team's been doing a sterling job. Yes, that's what my opinion. I've been watching a lot of the news channels, as you can imagine, the last couple of days. And SABC News, done a super job at Nasrec. Now, let's come back to today. Top 6, question of the day. We've been putting it to you. What do you make of the ANC's top 6? There, it's on the screen. We want you guys to tweet us. That, of course, is Newsroom. That's what we love, is the interaction, your voice. It is. Here are some of the tweets that you guys are sending us. Maya Girl says, as I said before, same script, just a different cast. Bongiseni Nyati says to us, I'm disappointed by the lack of gender balance in the top 6 of the ANC. Yes, everyone has pointed that out in Bongiseni. He carries on and he says the problem is the Deputy President and the SG. Otherwise, thumbs up for the rest of the officials. Yeah, a lot of question marks are being raised by certain quarters. Of course, unity has been the discussion, and how will that translate to voters? That's the poll we put to you. Do you think the new top 6 will be able to regain voters' confidence here in South Africa? Now, it's uncanny. The number has stayed at 50-50 the entire morning with 527 votes in. I don't know how is that possible. You have an uneven number, but you have an even 50% split. Interesting. Anyhow, you guys are also tweeting us on whether you think this top 6 will regain the confidence of the voting public. The big M, Michael Sitole, tells us, well, let's give them time to settle in, even though we expect them to hit the ground running. But it's a very strong team that was assembled, full of legends and people who have a proven track record individually. Luta continue. Thank you very much, Michael. Neville Mate tells us, well, with Ace Magashula, there is OIC disaster. Look at what it did to Free State. Neville Mate tells us. This one says, Abel says, with Mabuza, Magashula and Duarte, big no. Keep telling us and keep voting on the question of the day. That's what it is. But we also have a picture today. Of course, our picture of the day, this one comes from Billy Sikudla, and the hashtag is ANC Elective Conference. He says, Cyril Ramaphosa officially declared President of the ANC, hashtag CR17. And what a lovely moment that was yesterday. Throughout the entire day's proceedings, it was the nicest moment of all, of course. Beautiful moment. Yes, we can work together. South Africa needs to unite, like the ANC wants to unite. That's where it is. Beautiful picture of the day. Now for our comment of the day. This one comes from Dino, and he says, find someone who loves you as much as the Rand loves Cyril Ramaphosa. Yes, the Rand touched on, what, 1250? 1250, yeah, 1250. I wonder where it's going to go early this morning. Should be very interesting to see. But nice tweet. Find someone who loves you as much as the Rand loves Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, we're going to take a short break. We're not going to take this diary. Take a little break. We'll be back with you right after this. Welcome back. Good morning. If you've just Joined us? No, you're not seeing double. I'm back for the day, making a little bit of contribution. Yeah, now delegates at the ANC's 54th National Conference will now vote for 80 members of the party's National Executive Committee. Last night, the party elected a new president along with 5 other key positions, or the top 6 as it's known. Of course, it's all Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa taking the ANC's presidential role. Now, to talk about analysis on the race and where we're going next and where we're heading as South Africa, I'm joined in studio by Busisiwe Kaba. He's a political science lecturer and researcher at Monash University. Very good morning to you, Busisiwe. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, and good morning to all your viewers.
A very close voting process it was. A little bit closer than I think most people actually thought. Were you surprised, and how do you view the outcome?
Well, certainly it was very close, you know. Firstly, I think that, you know, the number of voting delegates, the total number of voting delegates was 4,776,
yes,
and only 4,708 of them pitched. I'm just wondering, you know, on top of my head, what happened to the rest.
I heard there's a recount. Well, just to update you, if you've just joined us, we're actually double-checking the facts right now. There's a recount that's been called for, actually, and it looks at that missing 68 votes that you're talking about are those votes in question. In the end, though, it won't be making any difference, as the winning margin was 179 votes. So if you read it like that, it's probably not going to make a difference to the final result. But that, of course, will have to be verified.
Yeah, no, certainly. And I'm sure that the Electoral Commission, you know, had to audit the results beforehand.
Yeah.
But it would have made a difference for the position of Secretary General, for instance. I mean, Senzo Mkhunu lost by 24 votes to Ace Magashule. That would have made a big significance.
I think that might be the big focus of the recount, and the big talking point, I think, throughout today is the fact that that's probably the position that's going to be in dispute, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, I suppose so, but I mean, the results are final. My understanding is that, and I think everything was done constitutionally, so I don't believe that there could be any other added information or dispute in terms of the outcome of the of the elections that they were having. So I suppose, you know, this is it. This is what we see now, the top 6 official. And I mean, there's a lot of personalities as well.
Yeah.
For me, that stands out. For instance, how a Cyril Ramaphosa president will work with someone like David Mabuza.
Yeah.
And it's always been a 2 slate that we keep referring to. You know,
yeah, it's definite. Some point out Ace Magashule and David Mabuza as as the other side of the top 6, as it become known now over the last 24 hours. But let's take a look at the poll, because it deals directly with the question that I want to ask you. No matter who's been selected now, unity's been the discussion, and in the end, what is on screen is what they should be focusing on, is regaining voters' confidence. This top 6, do you think that they have it within them to do that and regain voters' confidence before 2019? As you can see, 50-50%, people are split completely down the middle as to whether they'll be able to regain voters' confidence. What's your view?
Yeah, that is the most interesting thing, because they only have, like, the ANC has 1 year to assert itself. If Cyril Ramaphosa was representing the anti-Zuma, anti-corruption, anti-state capture notion, then now he has to implement it. And that only gives him a year, and that maybe can be used to regain voter confidence for 2019. And I don't think it will be that easy. It's a short space of time in which he needs to assert himself. And I certainly don't think it will be an easy task for him.
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of speculation about what follows next. But let's talk about power within the ANC, because now we have a president. He sits at the Union Buildings, and we have a president at Luthuli House. How is that going to play out over the next year, in the context of you talking this very, difficult situation?
We'll really see a power struggle of some sort. I mean, there's two centers of power, having Cyril Ramaphosa as the president of the ANC, and on the other hand, President Jacob Zuma remains president of the state. There will be obviously some contradictions going forward, particularly on issues of corruption, etc. Because then, you know, you have to assert himself. You know, how will he be able to project that power? Yeah, that will be a very interesting to see how it will all go down. And I don't think that, you know, a lot of people maybe are speculating that, you know, they may try and recall President Zuma. So I suppose that,
yeah, that's
the
big question mark. Of course, everyone is asking that. It's the populist question today. I'm a little bit more interested in what happened at the conference itself with regards to the voting. We saw the numbers are almost split exactly. It's two definite strong camps within it. The push was for unity. Unity above all else almost. Now, when we look at this top six, what's the responsibility on the members of the top six to guide the way forward with regards to unity? Let's start with a guy like David Mabuza and Ace Magashule. What do they have to do going forward to show the necessary unity of leadership?
Unfortunately, those guys don't have the best reputation out there, you know, and they're not helping the image of the ANC as well. So I suppose if they really are interested in this unity and also gaining voter confidence, going back to your previous question, it's incumbent upon them that, you know, they will have to try and sort of, you know, project this image of whether it's a facade or not, that they are unified and they are forging forward just to gain the voter confidence. So that's quite important for me. They don't have the best image in terms of the brand ANC as well. And also, you know, Cyril Ramaphosa, as much as it's seen that he has a win, there's still the issue of Marikana, which will obviously be raised by opposition parties in 2019 to this campaign.
That is true. You talk about Cyril Ramaphosa, and within unity, what does he have to do? He has to look after the president. Does he have those kinds of responsibilities? Others, of course, are tweeting already. Opposition parties are out and saying that, well, how he treats the president will set the tone.
Yes, certainly. And there's also, he has some sort of leverage with the court outcome of him having to choose, because he's still deputy president of the state. So he has some leverage in terms of appointing the new head for the NPA, for instance, and also commissioning a commission of inquiry into state capture. We'll see how that happens, you know. And whatever decision that he makes, it will always be seen by the different slate to be, you know, okay, he's, you know, not playing by the book, or he's, you know, there's still a power struggle within the ANC itself, and the second power struggle is also outside of the ANC. It will be a really interesting relationship that they're going to have.
I think everyone's going to be watching it very closely. Let's quickly talk about President Jacob Zuma. He announced free higher education in the run-up, and the run-up to this announcement caused quite a stir. Of course, people say we don't have the money. What do you think was the plan? Is it as simple as saying legacy?
That's interesting. I think it was very opportunistic. I'll start with the timing. I mean, you don't make such an announcement at this time. And also it happened simultaneously while the Minister of Finance was speaking, you know, and he announces that there will be free higher education. So for me, I'm not sure if he meant this to campaign a particular individual, or also to throw Cyril Ramaphosa under the bus, because now he has to deliver on that. There is an expectation. January is just a few days coming, and now there's an expectation that there will be this free higher education. You know, I don't think the ANC is really helping itself, and I don't think there was proper consultation with all the forums that need to be, including Treasury as well, to discuss where the money will come from.
Well, Busi, I'm going to ask you to hang around a little bit. Busi Siwe Kaba, she's a political science lecturer and researcher at Monash University, giving us her considered views. We're going to take a break. When I come back, we might, want to talk about this 1 million jobs that Cyril Ramaphosa has put forward as his target. 1 million jobs in the next 5 years. That's the plan. Of course, South Africans, they're calling for jobs, jobs, jobs. Will he be able to deliver that after a short break? Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom here on SABC News. Yes, the race towards the ANC's new top 6 concluded late yesterday. Many officials, including ANC and other party officials, took to social media in support of who has their vote or support at the conference. Now, to talk to us about these and other news that's trending on social media via Skype, the Managing Director of Roy Africa, Tonya Kure, joins us. Hi, Tonya. Nice to have you with us once again.
A very good morning, Evan. I think we all are suffering an election hangover this morning, aren't we?
Yeah, it's been a long week, lots of delays. People have kind of had their say on social media. I'm sure everyone has had a go. What does it look like, the picture?
Well, apart from waiting for an eternity, and certainly social media were unforgiving about the timeline. Many people saying, like, what on earth is going on? So we sat on our edge of our seats for the whole day. And then Julius Malema tweeted, "It's a boy," and social media went crazy. The Rand rallied. I think it hit the 12 Rand to the dollar mark. And the next thing, it was all over. There were rumors of a recount, and they were quashed very quickly. And social media dominated that conversation all day. I think the statistics came out at about 88% over a 24-hour period. If you added the ANC conference, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa together, and then over the week period, a good 65% of our social media conversation focused on the result. It was certainly tense. This morning, a little bit of a letdown, I suppose. People talking about the top 6. Many not happy with some of the members of that top 6 party. And I think Cyril's got a tough job ahead of him. People calling for him to recall the president straight away. The poor guy didn't even have some sleep yet. So it's going to be interesting times, Evan.
Yeah, interesting times indeed. There's been some... we've run a poll actually ourselves, Tonya, on the show today, and it's interesting. We ask, this top 6 that's so in sharp focus right now. They've got a tough job ahead of them. Yes, there's talk of unity, but ultimately they have to regain voters' confidence, and we put that to our viewers, and you can see the split is 50-50 exactly. People are, they're not sure whether they'll be able to pull that off.
Absolutely. I think everybody is is talking about the 50-50 split. It's ridiculous, actually. Some people not understanding how, even your poll is 50-50, so there we go.
Yeah, it's
Some
uncanny.
people not understanding how Jesse Duarte got in there. A lot of people talking about David Mabuza, and also the ace in the pack, Ace Magashule, also making an impact on social media this week.
Now, in the run-up to it, there's been lots of polls and guesstimates and that sort of stuff. Have they been accurate, mostly, the stuff that we've seen on social media and mainstream the last week or so?
Sure. Eben, it was interesting to me at how split the nature of social media was. I mean, you had some seriously big influencers on there calling it for Ramaphosa's camp, and the same for Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. So social media very confused. I think most social media hoped for Cyril Ramaphosa. Last night there were messages of congratulations, and the word hope was being bandied about by many consumers for the future of our country. So it was very divided in the beginning, and it seems like it was very divided on the outcome as well when you look at the top six. So who knows even where this is going, but social media certainly had moments of happiness, only to be thwarted by the announcement of the top six.
Other news, while we're all obsessed with what's happening at Nasrec, of course, everything else is kind of faded into the background. Is it festive season, or is it just a time of the year where South Africa switches off?
Oh, South Africa never switches off. We saw free education making a huge impact in social media this past week. That particular story, people shaking their heads going, oh my goodness, like where's that money going to come from? People going, well, I'm off to university. So that particular story made an impact. Steinhoff, still very big on the charts. People calling for far stronger measures to be implemented than we've seen this far. And yeah, there's a couple of other stories on the charts. Eskom is still there with that tariff hike. Of course, state capture remains a big conversation in social media. And of course, Zuma Must Fall is back with a vengeance. I mean, it left the charts last week, but this morning it's back on the charts firmly with a good 4% of our social media conversation.
Tonya, thanks very much.
Eben.
Yep, it's that time, unfortunately. It's that time of the year. Thanks, Tonya. Tonya Curious, she's the managing director of Roy Africa, and they, of course, monitor social media and give us, well, all the very latest trends and, of course, talking points on social media. Now, to conclude our discussion, I am still with Busisi Wakaba. She's a political science lecturer and researcher at Monash University here in Johannesburg. Hello again, Busi. Just before we went on a break, I said we were going to talk about this 1 million jobs. Is Cyril the man to bring that 1 million jobs in the medium term?
Look, Cyril was chairperson of the commission that produced the National Development Plan, which anticipates the vision for 2030, and I don't think, in terms of implementation, they've been doing that extremely well. So now the intensity is reliant on the how is he going to do it. 1 million jobs in 5 years, we'll see how he's going to do that. The other implication is that, this fourth industrial revolution, which now we're moving into the IT sector, where you will see a lot of robots taking over jobs, So for me, it's a bit contradictory in terms of how are you going to create jobs. It really needs to be a well-thought plan. It looks excellent on paper, but the issue is implementation. So I'm not convinced that there will be proper implementation, but we wait to see again. And also with these 2 centers of power, it will be a tussle of power.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting. But the view from internationally, if you had to be an analyst looking from outside into South Africa right now, how would you view, as an international analyst, what South Africa looks like right now and what the next couple of years might look like?
I suppose, the rand is strengthening right now, so Cyril is a darling. Supposing that, they see him as someone who has that business sophistication, who understands how the business is working, and he may be able to turn the economy around. And be that as it may, I think the political factors and the factions that exist within the political sphere within the ANC will also be, a deterrent of some sort. But as an observer from outside internationally, I think people are excited that there's still democratic processes happening in South Africa, and also we'll see if we'll be able to turn the economy around.
He's spoken a lot about corruption in the private sector, and we've seen the Steinhoff scandal. Do you think we're going to see a tough stance against corruption in the private sector in the months and years to come?
You see, this power struggle for me is really problematic in a way. But I mean, going forward, he will have to be very assertive, and we'll have to see how he asserts himself in terms of dealing with corruption, because corruption goes beyond now business as well. We know that he's a friend of business, which also on the political spectrum, it's quite fascinating because Cyril represents the former unionist, but also he's more capitalist because of his business ideas and etc. So going forward, how is it going to align that unity within the alliance, and also make sure that there's an equal balance of the ANC? It will be interesting to see how it drives the ANC forward in terms of ideology and policy implementation.
Busisiwe, thanks for joining us today. Busisiwe Kaba, she's a political science lecturer and researcher at Monash University, and she gave us her considered view this morning, mostly saying it's going to be a tough road ahead, whichever way we're going, not just for the, of course, for the incoming ANC president, but also for all South Africans. We all have to work together. Now, this one from Linda Woodendahl says, ANC Women's League, you lot at the top should be ashamed of your poor performance. Wake up and see how you have set gender equality backward in your organization. Shame on you. Tough words for the Women's League this morning. Faku Nyangiwe says to us, Newsroom, I wish all ANC members should rally behind the leadership and don't promote divisions into provinces, because Ace and Jesse, same WhatsApp group, says Faku. Michael Mnisi says to us, Newsroom, South Africa have spoken. Myself, I'm happy everywhere. Yeah, interesting one. South Africa has spoken. Well, the ANC South Africa have spoken. Now, it's nice for me to be back on the Newsroom show, of course. The sporting year is drawing to a close. It's been another incredible one, and I'm with Kendall here. We decided that we'll have a quick little chat about, well, the year in review. It hasn't been a vintage sporting year for South Africa. We can talk about Bafana.
Yeah.
Springboks.
Yeah.
Maybe the only little glimmer of hope is the Proteas, isn't it?
A little bit about the Blitzpoker as well, but we'll get to that shortly. The big teams have not been doing that well this year. The only one, as you say, is the Proteas side. But starting with the Bafana, really, let's go there, because there was a lot. We spoke about Stuart Baxter right here on the show. I saying, look, let's give the man a chance. He's been in the post before as the head of Bafana, and let's give the guy a chance and see how well he does. And some people are saying, all right, now he's had his chance, and it's past time now to actually call it on the man. He needs to be winning contests and winning tournaments. And we're looking now at a picture of Bafana ahead of one of the tournaments that they didn't do so well in, the Cosatu Cup.
It looks, though, that South African football is on the cusp of coming back into some sort of form. We've got some young teams playing well. I was impressed they beat Egypt. Egypt always have young good sides at Cosatu Cup.
And they beat them twice in the same week.
Yeah, so the immediate outlook is not that bad. Not
at all. And I think the one thing that South Africans are actually guilty of is how incredibly impatient we are as a sporting nation. Having said that, we've been burnt once too often, waiting to see the outcome of the process. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen with this young crop, as well as with what Stuart Baxter is going to do with the seniors.
You talk about impatience, and of course the patience have run out with Alistair Coetzee. It seems he hasn't been fired, but the talk is that will happen in the new year.
We've been waiting to hear what's going to happen. I mean, they had the SARU had their review of the man. We're looking at a man who missed an golden opportunity to become captain of the Springboks when the incumbent was injured and couldn't play for the rest of the season. Well, Alistair Coetzee made one of his other very inexplicable decisions and took his franchise vice captain and made him the captain of the Springboks. And
yeah, it's caused a lot of unhappiness. There've been lots of rumor mongering around saying, oh no, he didn't want it, but let's park that and finish off on a positive note with the Proteas. They're playing against Zimbabwe next week, a 4-day test. That's different, but India is really the big. India and Australia coming this summer.
Absolutely, yes. We can't put too much store in the performances of the Proteas in this 4-day test against Zimbabwe. Yes, it's the first one-day, it's the first night cricket they'll be playing against Zimbabwe. But you know what? The big ones really are coming up. The Australians have just regained the Ashes, and we're looking forward to seeing India coming up as well and see how Otis Gibson matches up against some of the best in the world.
Yeah, it's a big cricket season ahead. We look forward to it. It's going to be fantastic to watch. Starts with Zimbabwe next week. The weather is next.
We're talking news, business and sporting updates both continentally and abroad. South Africa is in its first economic recession since 2009.
Currency has appreciated quite a lot, especially for this year. And it has benefited from a number of things, not so much to do with what was happening here at home.
The Islamic State-linked news agency Amaq claims the latest attack was launched because of Australia's backing in the US fight against the group.
Constad is one of the dozens of women who have accused Cosby of sexual assault, but hers is the only case recent enough to be subjected to criminal prosecution.
Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
A warm welcome to one of your favorite weekly review analysis programs, Media Monitor. So let's look at the race itself.
It's just becoming a personality contest where people just want somebody to guard their own vested interest. And I feel that the country is at a point now where we need some sort of change.
It is ANC policy that they will have to implement.
We fairly know the direction the ANC wants to take. As a leader, you have to implement.
So what was it like on the ground in Kenya?
Well, the country is divided. The country is very divided.
I think within the country, for me, the one person that I criticize severely, and I'm not very happy with his approach, is Raila Odinga, with him pulling out.
Stay tuned to Media Monitor and catch on analysts unpacking top stories every Sunday from 9 a.m.
A lot of us rely on tech to survive, and Africa is already a mobile-first continent.
We build mobile technology that connects motorcycle taxis to commuters and businesses in real time.
My phone was the most important thing.
Africans are using technology to innovate. On Network, we have African technology and social media news. Even robots have heard about us.
Hello, watch Network on SABC.
For African technology and social media news, join Ms. Phumelele Zondi on Network every Sunday at 9 p.m.
Did you know the big hole digging started in 1871 and ended on the 14th August 1914? The hole produced 2,722 kgs of diamonds. However, one diamond as huge as 490 carat of stone found in the open prior 1868 gave them the interest to dig. Extracted from 22.5 million tons of soil. Today, the hole sits at a breathtaking 214 meters deep. Kimberley Big Hole attracts tourists from all over the world, taking a vintage tram past the city, then cycling around the Big Hole.
Hello again, everybody. Yeah, it's just gone 10 o'clock Central African time. It's a hot, scorching day here in Johannesburg. I'm with Kenneth Mahamati. Good morning once again.
A very hearty good morning to you, Eben. Really good to have you back as we take the ship through to midday. Lots to cover after yesterday.
Yeah, lots to cover, of course. It seems as if all other news have kind of gone into the background a little bit because of the focus with the ANC conference and the election of the new top six.
Absolutely, and that's why we want you to start interacting with us already today. We want to find out from you, what do you make of ANC's new top six?
Yeah, lots of tweets coming in. Guguletu. Oh, okay. Professor Poncho is this one. He says to us, Newsroom, the masses have spoken, not ideal, but it's real. Well balanced and represents the unity that was called for. Yes, that was the big call, was unity.
Yes, there's Lechasa Mollo, ZB says, I'm so disappointed by those who choose Didi Mabuza, Jesse Duarte and Ace Mahashule. Those are Gupta and Mr. Zuma's friends, says Lechasa.
Unity, Lechasa, unity. Unity is the discussion. Also, we're on a poll because we want to ask you, what do you think about the job ahead of this top six? Yes, will they be able to regain voters' confidence, Kendall?
We've got 632 votes in already, and interesting enough, Eben, it's still very marginal, pretty much like the vote yesterday. 49% say yes, the ANC's top six will regain voters' confidence, whereas 51% don't believe it.
Yeah, lots of tweets coming in as well. Let's take a look at a couple. Guguletu's back here. He says, if they can show commitment to unity in the ANC, put aside personal agendas that don't help the party or the country, seriousness to deal with corruption, and if they can recall Zuma, this for me will regain my confidence. Talking about his individual confidence.
Absolutely, and Prof. Ponsa says, subjectively so. We won't argue that the WNC is secured as votes are concerned, as CR is at the forefront. DD has Mpumalanga's support, ACE has got the Free State, and so both worlds would ensure that their interests are taken care of. So yeah, voters' confidence is secured, says Prof. Ponso.
Prof. Ponso, interesting one. Keep tweeting us, guys. Very interesting. Of course, our question of the day. We've got a sports question as well, so we're asking you, can Mamelodi Sundowns maintain their six-match unbeaten run when they play Cape Town City FC tonight?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are saying Cape Town City have gotten in them to come back and do something to Sundowns. You're telling us on social media what your thoughts are. Let's share those with everybody else.
The uncaptured soul and mind says to us, obviously there is depth in their team. Pizzo has selection headaches. Yeah, but Cape Town City a good side, especially at home.
Oh yes, and Heraclitus, oh hello, that's a very interesting name you've got there, sire. And says Sundowns will win 4-0.
Ish, this man makes as if he's an oracle. He can foresee the future. Anyhow, those are your tweets and your interactions with us. Keep on tweeting us and telling us what you think. Myself and Kendall and I are going to bring you the headlines. Messages of best wishes continue to trickle in for the ANC's newly elected top six and President Cyril Ramaphosa. Eskom has again denied reports that its suspended acting CEO, Machela Koko, has been reinstated by the power utility. Then in the US, an Amtrak passenger train traveling on a new route for the first time derailed in Washington state, killing at least 3 people. Those are your top stories at this very hour. Let's go over to Kendall for sports.
Evan, thank you very much. Good morning to you. This is what we've got for you in the sports today.
One goal, and that's a great ball. Now passing down is in here. Chance for down, and finally!
Mamelodi Sundowns are on a 6-match unbeaten run as they take to the 6th field against Cape Town City ahead of the PSL's Christmas break.
Rooney's second penalty of the evening. He'll be hoping it's better than the first, and it is.
Wayne Rooney comes good with his second penalty for Everton as the Toffees crushed Swansea City 3-1 in the English Premiership last night. And Ferrari threatens to stage a walkout of the Liberty-owned Formula One if the sport becomes too much like the US-based NASCAR series. All this in more detail I'll have for you around about 10:40. Do stay with Evan as he's got the news.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kendall. Now, the ANC Steering Committee has called an emergency meeting. We've heard that, of course, there are, well, some voting recounts happening. Let's go over to Peter and the team to tell us what is the very latest. Good morning to you, Peter.
Evan, a very good morning to you. Yeah, look, there's this question of missing 68 votes. So when we were told that 5,000 plus delegates arrived to the conference. Remember, the court case created problems because there were representatives from KwaZulu-Natal, Free State and Northwest. Because of the court cases, they were told they can't vote, they can't participate in the voting. So then we were given an official number of 4,776 delegates that were eligible to vote. But from that 4,776 votes, only 4,708 people apparently took part in those votes. So that's a disparity of 68 people. And they're not quite sure what happened to these voters, where this number has disappeared to. And so the story that we're hearing is that they knew this as early as yesterday. And Secretary General Desi Duarte, who's part of the steering committee, was urged at that stage to look into this and resolve this issue before the results were announced. Now, eventually, the results, of course, were announced, and they were all quite close. And there's one in particular that was very, very close. So this 68 votes or unaccounted for votes may play a significant role in the outcome should they resolve it one way or another. So what we believe is that the steering committee is meeting at the moment, and that's members from the Secretary General's office, the chairpersons of the provinces as well as the leagues. They're meeting now to try and discuss a way forward to try and resolve this issue. So that is a concern, I guess, especially given how close some of the votes were in the top 6. And depending on which way those 68 votes would have gone, might have a bearing on a final conclusion. But we'll keep a track of that particular story during the course of this morning. We believe that the Women's League should have been meeting already, giving a press conference from 10 o'clock this morning. They'll be very concerned about the fact that they've only got one woman on the top 6 list, and they had a national chairperson the last time around. They had a woman vying for president and deputy president, and in the end, they just managed to Jesse Duarte as the Deputy Secretary General. So some might say actually that the women's cause has regressed actually in this particular round of voting. So we'll keep a track of that. Is also open now, so ready for that press conference that's going to be happening a little bit later on. And Batabile Dlamini, I'm sure, is going to face quite a number of questions. So you'll remember she was right behind the NDZ camp, and they were convinced a woman president, but that didn't happen. But we'll keep a track of this story for you. 68 votes. We don't know what happened. 4,776 registered to vote, but only 4,708 actually put a mark against a candidate. Okay, let's go back to you in Auckland Park, Eben.
Yeah, thank you very much. Keep you updated how that develops. Will be interesting. Of course, we're also waiting for a Women's League press conference that's due to take place. At some point this morning, we were set down for 10 o'clock. It's 10 after 10 now. But with matters developing at NASREC, who knows what could be happening behind the scenes there. Anyhow, delegates at the ANC's 54th National Conference will now vote for 80 members of the party's National Executive Committee, or the NEC. Now, it's day 4 of this conference being held at NASREC here south of Johannesburg. There'll be great interest in whether the same patterns emerge, as was the case with the election of the party's top 6 last night. Now, the top 6 results have been hailed as a balance that has the potential to bring about the much sought-after unity within the party.
It was a much-anticipated announcement, putting an end to the bitter campaigning by the rival factions.
We declare Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa as the new president of the African National Congress.
While Cyril Ramaphosa enjoyed support from a greater number of branches as compared to Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, the voting patterns varied from one position to another. The inclusion of Lindiwe Sisulu on Ramaphosa's slate did not bring in numbers.
Comrade David Mabuza is the new deputy president of the African National Congress.
Perhaps the biggest beneficiary is the man who had styled himself as representing unity, Mpumalanga Chair David Mabuza. He refused to publicly endorse anyone despite being linked to Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, a move that has worked in his favor.
Comrade Ace Mahashule at 2360 votes. Comrade Senzo Mkhunu 2336 votes.
Another surprise, the emergence of Free State Premier Ace Mahashule as Secretary General against Senzo Mkhunu, who enjoyed a significant number of nominations ahead of the conference.
Comrade Jesse Duarte, 2474 votes.
Jesse Duarte will now serve a second term as Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, while Kwede Mandashe will take over the chairpersonship. Gauteng Chair Paul Mashatile has been elected as the new Treasurer General. With 2 competing slates now equally represented in the top 6, all eyes are on the composition of the National Executive Committee. Mzandile Mbej, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now, ANC stalwart Tokyo Sexwale says it's disingenuous for ANC members to blame President Jacob Zuma for all the problems in the country. Sexwale was reacting to the election of Cyril Ramaphosa as the new ANC president. Sexwale also says all those who've been leaders in the governing party should share the blame for what has gone wrong and humble themselves before the nation.
We expected this conference to be a rough one. Over the last few conferences of the ANC, splits have arisen thereafter. It does appear this time round, ANC members, as we prayed, that they'll find one another, that there'll be wisdom. It does appear that one thing that is not happening is a split. So we say the end justifies the means. What was the end? Unity. Let's stay together. And what were the means? It doesn't matter how we got there. The fact of the matter is that ANC people are saying we're going nowhere. Ons Dagni, ons Paula Iso. So, but therefore, the problems remain. You are now in the same house. You got to sit down, look up and sort them, because those problems have not gone away.
I mean, you talk about this unity, but this unity is not necessarily in Ramaphosa's favor. I mean, he has got a deputy president with the likes of Didi Mabuza, and he's got Ace Magashule, which are very strong Zuma supporters. We know that. I mean, they, have been by his side the whole time, and they've been described as that Premier League, and they are the two faces of it. So this is going to be a difficult time for him.
It's politics, and one would like to appeal. Whether the slates were smashed or the slates were amalgamated is no longer the issue. The target has been reached, don't be divided. I think the ANC should be able to say to one another, we differed, we fought, we debated, there was conflict, we thought to split, the house divided. Let bygones be bygones. Focus on what the ANC is there for, their people. Not the 5,000 people who are here or 477 something that voted here, but the 50 million South Africans who are looking at this conference and waiting for answers. Not how much Cyril was divided from this one, but let sanity prevail and let wisdom come back to say, this is, after all, an organization of Nelson Mandela, of Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo. If that comes, fine. But if people forget the 50 million South Africans out there, and they think now you are bosses because you're in positions, then we will remain in the same rut. It is bye-bye the ANC. But I hope that will not happen, that they'll find one another.
You say something like, let bygones be bygones. Can we honestly, as a nation, allow bygones to be bygones when we've seen the ANC in and out of court? We've seen the state capture. We've seen corruption. We've seen billions. I mean, talk of hundreds of billions of rands being siphoned out of South Africa and government coffers. It's very difficult to kind of say, okay, well, let's leave that behind us and let's move forward, because some of the promises in the lead up to this is that will be dealt with.
When I say bygones be bygones, I don't mean corruption must be left to run away. The first target of this leadership, the first target of Cyril Ramaphosa, Comrade Cyril, Comrade President, is now to have a strategy on what to do with this monster that has got us to be where we are. We look ugly, make us look good again. So what would I say is the first task of a president like Cyril? Remember, we're co-accused. Cyril and I were accused, Matthew also, of plotting to overthrow the government.
Yeah.
Of plotting to take the presidency. Okay, now it has happened in a different way. And that came from very dangerous reports which were written about him, about us. Okay? He knows where that comes from. That there are secret intelligence reports written by faceless ghosts outside there, naming all sorts of people, all lies on your table. Be careful. The first thing the president should do is never to allow these funny envelopes with names of people coming to you and then you take decisions, because they'll let you kill your own mother in that report. So keep away from that. Madiba advised that a president must not be fed with gossip and then he believes that thing and start going away. We're where we are because Cyril was called a plotter. I was his co-accused. That's where the problems of the ANC started for the first time. Because we had never seen this. This was under Tabo's administration. That was sorted out and all other things came. So we have got to say, this leadership, look corruption in the eye. That one is not a bygone. That's the focus, because it's about the budget of the people on health, education, housing, and so on. So it's got to be done the way it's got to be done. We congratulate all of them, but stand up, be steadfast, show leadership. Because leadership is not about negotiations. You can negotiations. Finally, you can use that process, but it's about decisive, resolute decisions to correct wrongs within the ANC, and then, of course, society can accept you.
So you've touched on the issue of yourself, Matthew Sposa, Cyril Ramaphosa, the now president of the ANC, wanting to topple Thabo Mbeki. That whole plot, that came around, when was that? In 2001?
Yes.
That was in 2001. And that you still say was absolutely false.
I mean, it was horrifying to wake up, and I was called by comrades. We hear that the police are coming to your house. That you were plotting to overthrow the state, that type of thing. And we went to Madiba. Desmond Tutu, Zweli Zimbabwe. These people stood up for us. And Madiba dismissed this as nonsense. But the report had been given to a president, to a minister of police at that time, Steve Tshwete, damaging reputations of people. I mean, how do you get accused that you are plotting to overthrow? There's a coup d'etat. Okay? So I'm saying the president, Comrade Cyril, knows where the danger is. It all starts with gossips in little corners. People believe these things, and then you spread these things. There's funny intelligence reports. It starts there. From there, the rest is true. Because the corrupt people must first corrupt the ANC. Before you get your hands onto ESCOM, Telcom, SAA, before you steal in the president's office, as has happened, before you steal as a minister, before you become a thief as a premier, as an MEC, as a councillor, and so on. You've got to corrupt the processes of the ANC so that you open up the road. Now, that's where they should focus to make sure that these acts of corruption, this thing of turning public purses into private funds, must come to an end. The police must appoint the proper people in police, appoint proper prosecutors, those type of things. That's the way it should go.
Let's go back to the time of Mandela, because we do know that there was a very, very close relationship between Cyril Ramaphosa and Mandela, and yourself as well.
Well, Cyril received us when he came out of jail.
Well, yes. Exactly. Now, if Madiba had to be here now, and I know he wanted Cyril to take over as the president. I mean, this moment is a very defining moment in the history of South Africa, to finally and eventually see, all these years later, Cyril coming in as taking over president. Do you think Madiba would be happy with where we're at right now? And I don't mean yesterday, I mean last night now, where we are with Cyril as the president of the ANC.
I'm not one who wants to speak for the dead that Madiba would have said, Tam would have said, but let me state what I want to say. There's a famous picture where Cyril received us when we came out of jail. He was in the Nelson Mandela Political Prisoners Release Committee. And he was there when Madiba, holding actually a microphone for Madiba, when Madiba made his first statement to the world in Cape Town, there by the building where they were standing. Speaking from the Mandela Foundation now, it will be a sweet moment. It is that this Cyril, when we now celebrate the forthcoming centenary of Madiba, it is this Cyril who is the president. Jacob Zuma's time is gone. He's yesterday's man. His bags are packed, as I like saying. In the departure lounge, the president of the country is going to be Cyril. Okay? That's what the ANC constitution says. Our president in the ANC, that candidate is the one who's going to be the president. So they've got to now sort out when the president, Cyril becomes the president of the country. But I think it will be a sweet victory to see Cyril leading this country during the time when the centenary of Madiba is being celebrated worldwide. And from the Mandela Foundation, we're pushing this centenary very, very much.
Which is next year. So do you think that President Jacob Zuma will be delivering the State of the Nation address come the opening of Parliament?
Well, I hope not. I hope not. Because, you know, by that time, a State of the Nation is the direction the country must take. I think it's better left in the hands of the new president. But, of course, that's not my decision. Okay? I'm not a member of the NEC. I'm just a common member, as I told you, member of the African National Congress. Some of us should just be that. So I hope, if President Zuma does that, fine. But I hope not, so that he can give the new president a chance to set the tone. That's a tone-setting speech. And I would find it difficult that when a man is in the departure lounge, when he's yesterday's man, he wants to talk about the future. Leave that to new people.
How strong is Cyril Ramaphosa? And I ask you this because we saw Cyril Ramaphosa as deputy president during very, very telling times of the ANC, of times when the ANC lost all of the major cities here in South Africa, where they lost major votes of supporters that would die for the ANC and for the movement. They lost that. And he was there. He was the deputy president of the movement.
That's a very important point to make, you know, because none of the people in the top 6, none of the people in the 80 who are going to be elected must pretend that the problem of the ANC was Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma was the head of the movement, and the head must fall when there are problems. He takes, because, you know, the wind outside here keeps on shifting your hair. The wind catches the tallest. So the president, outgoing President Zuma, catches the wind because he's the president, but we will be fooling ourselves lying to South Africans were we to say the problems of South Africa and of the ANC are Jacob Zuma's problems. It is a collective. There was a National Executive Committee which was dissolved yesterday. It must atone about what happened. Now, the top 6, all of them were there with Zuma. Nobody should stand up and start blaming Zuma because he thought to be disingenuous. We love Zuma. He's one of us. He's made mistakes, bad ones too, very bad ones, okay? But all the same, he's one of us. What I'm saying is that nobody should now try to use this person who's yesterday's person to point at mistakes of the ANC, all of them coming from this person. But coming to the point of now what? Who's Cyril? I met him 27 years ago, and that's how long we're out of jail. I worked with Cyril, the negotiator, the skillful person, the unionist, but unknown to a lot of us is that we worked with Cyril when there was extreme violence here in Gauteng. Zuma was busy with it in KZN, and I was the chairperson of this province. That time, Cyril and us were working with Rolf Meyer to make sure that we meet people of the army, we do all sorts of things. And I saw his toughness. Sitting the other side is Rolf Meyer, it's us this side, and Cyril is leading the delegation in a situation where there are dead bodies on the ground. He's tough. That's what we are going to need. Not the skillful, smart negotiator, okay?
You need that
We'll
toughness.
need that too, but at the end of the day, decisions must be made. You don't negotiate, you preside.
All right.
You are now President Cyril, and good luck.
All right, there it was ANC veteran Tokyo Sakhwale speaking earlier with our Leanne Manus this morning and sharing his views on how the election process and the conference itself has gone so far, as well as he also gave a lot of advice to the new leadership of the ANC. Now, here at the Nasrec Center, things are still continuing. A lot more is still, we are waiting to see the developments of today. Of course, we're still waiting on the NEC, as well as there's going to be policy discussions as well. And on the sidelines, of course, earlier on we spoke to you, said that there is that important steering committee that is now sitting to decide on the 68 votes that apparently were not counted. We still don't have all the full as to how those votes were not counted, but it is something that we are following very closely, and we will be giving you those details as soon as they are available to us. But the reaction to yesterday's announcement and the new leadership of the ANC from the morning, we've been speaking to leaders of the ANC, political analysts, and it's been really the subject of much discussion now. A lot of people sharing their thoughts, some happy, some not so much happy. And as we continue to get a reaction on the yesterday's announcement, I'm now joined by Cosatu President Stumo Dlamini. Stumo, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's been quite an interesting day yesterday. How are you feeling? And just your thoughts and comments on the new leadership of the ANC.
Thank you very much. And we are indeed on the 4th day today of the successful national conference of the African National Congress. As Cosatu, we have indeed arrived here to lend our support for the ANC to have a successful conference. They have elected the leadership yesterday, led by the new president, Cyril Ramaphosa. We are satisfied that the mandate, the wish of the members of the ANC through this leadership was truly expressed, and we all should respect that leadership, support that leadership, ensure that leadership succeeds in implementing the resolutions of the conference of the ANC in its 54th sitting. We are satisfied. We are now looking forward to the resolutions that are going to be discussed by delegates here, in particular to change the current economic situation in our country, where unemployment, poverty, inequality are at the highest in this country, in historical proportions. The country's economy is downgraded. We have to have those resolutions that are going to take us forward. And without considering that the radical socio-economic transformation is the way forward. Anything you can do will be meaningless. We have to tinker and disrupt the current patterns of ownership in this country in favor of the majority of this country in all the sectors of the economy. Mining in particular, the transformation there is critical. The land, very, very critical. The financial sector is monopolized by an oligarchy of white males in this country. We've got to change that. We've got to go there. So we're happy as the Federation, and we're here to support the ANC. Remember, we have a Congress resolution to support the African National Congress as our dependable ally. We're doing so more so because we're going to 2019, where we want the African National Congress to get an even bigger majority so that they can change the constitution and take a decision to ban labor brokers in this country. They can take a decision to change the constitution to allow for the expropriation of land without compensation if people are not willing to give land or to share land in this country. We will use our majority. The leadership must help us to go united.
Speaking of unity, it was said that at this conference, the ANC, which came into here, that it needs to leave this conference a united ANC. Looking at, if we speaking about the slates, and we see that on those that have supported, on the Deputy President's slate, there's managed to be 3 top positions there, as well as those on the slate of Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. Do you think that will bring about the unity that is so needed?
Look, Ayanda, where we stand now, we are looking at a collective leadership of the African National Congress at the level of the top 6, led by the president of the ANC, who was the deputy president when he was a Cosatu preferred candidate. He's no more a Cosatu preferred candidate. He's now the president elected of the ANC, leading a collective of leadership, and we're looking at them as that, and we will support them in that context. So we must help them to listen to the clear order by the delegates of that conference, because those delegates were clear. Whether they are fully conscious of it or not, but let's interpret it. They say we are tired of slate politics. We want unity in our organization. We want our organization to champion the issues that will emerge from our policy discussion. Leadership at that point has got to focus on what unites them. And what unites them now will be the policies that will emerge, the resolutions that will emerge out of this Congress, and we will be supporting them to do that.
Going back home, obviously here the delegates are here meeting, and hopefully the message that the leaders have for them, they will take that back to their respective provinces. But KwaZulu-Natal is one province, the Northwest, Free State, or provinces that still, Northern Cape now, provinces that have challenges back home. And it's now up to these leaders really to go back and try to fix the issues that they have on the ground, so that moving forward, I mean, the next step we've been talking about is 2019, where you want to see the ANC do much better in the next election.
Yes, I can see you referring to those 4 provinces where there are court judgments and court challenges. I want to tell you, the African National Congress has got to go to all her provinces, the 9 of them, leagues and other structures of the mass democratic movement, including the alliance partners, with one message that we have no option but to put unity at the center and begin then to solve any other problem, united going forward. So that message is very, very much a call for the leadership to heed to it and go down to those structures, unite, and not gloss over issues, pull them up. Because if you take, for instance, this KZN situation, I am at a point where I say, from KZN, no one will claim to have won. Nobody, but the ANC. So if that message is clear, we all are enjoined in that and working together, all levels of the alliance and the African National Congress, all structures focusing in fixing and healing and pulling those who are away, pull them closer and ensure that the way forward is unity, because all along we've been allowing the opposition and our detractors to cash in on our mistakes. That is something of the past, according to the message we're getting from this conference of the ANC. And we have got to hold on that and move forward.
You spoke about the policies of the ANC, and obviously this conference is very important moving forward, that it formulates a program for the new leadership moving forward as well as government. But some of the policies that we had discussed come from, if we look back at the 2012 conference in Mangaung, and the concern has always been on the implementation of the ANC's policies.
I've always argued no policy is good when it cannot be implemented. So we always say the ANC has good policy. Yes, it is true, but as long as you fail to implement the policies, they are not good. You have got to review them. And we're coming from an angle that say, once you change your mindset and say it has got to be radical socio-economic transformation and drum that in our heads and not just sugarcoat it. When you're talking NHI, add radical economic transformation. When you're talking land restoration or restitution, put that element of radicalism in it. When you're talking the transformation of the mining sector and all the sectors of our economy, start with, is it going to be radical? Because the reason we've stagnated and forgot, and we're now reminded by the masses that things are not good, is because we forgot that it has got to be radical. The economy of this country was sold out many, many years ago, unwittingly, through compromises because we wanted to avoid a war situation, through negotiations because we wanted to pull everybody together. But we were dealing with people who had already an agenda to maintain and keep the status quo that has been for 350 years intact. We've got to disrupt that. So it's going to be an up-tempo going forward, and the leadership coming out of this conference has got to understand that.
The interests of workers is what you are here for.
Yes.
Including of the delegates, they are workers themselves. Take us through what you want to see in terms of the ANC's policies as they live, that are in the interest of workers.
Let me start by saying over the past 23 years, we have had these laws that we have said they were progressive. But as I said earlier, we had also to rely on the goodwill and the good heart of others, the employers, the bosses, the farm bosses, and everybody. They have not given a quota. So we have got to look into the labor laws, in particular, to ensure that it is not easy to hire and fire workers in this country like it is currently. The retrenchment of workers in mines and everywhere has got to be expensive for the employer. Currently, they are having it easy. The workers in the IT sector, they are casual workers in the media community. They are having temporary jobs for ages. It has got to stop, and the policies that will emerge here must talk to those issues. Labor brokers has got to be tackled, and people argue that the Constitution does not allow us to ban labor brokers. Change the Constitution, take the decision that says we are going to ban labor brokers, but we want a 66% majority. Workers will give you that, and you will change that Constitution.
And now that the president, a former unionist himself, who played a critical role in the formation of Cosatu.
Look, let's congratulate Comrade Cyril. He's been with the labor movement. The last time he was there was more than 22 years ago. But it is still worth it because he was born there, he knows that sector. We expect that he leads a collective that will be sympathetic to the workers' issues in this country and ensure that white monopoly capital is tackled in this country. He should not fear with the collective leadership. Challenge white monopolies in this country. Challenge white monopolies, including black monopolies if there are any. At the moment, there is none. We must not aim to create black monopolies in this country. So everything must be challenged. He has to lead us into that. We are tired of being told by the ratings agencies on how we should run the country. I see them today say, we are happy because Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa is now the president and the rand picks up 4 points basis. Look, that has got to stop. We have to have a leadership that tells everybody that here in South Africa, we want to change our course in this way, and everybody must respect that.
So certainly, you're not going to give this leadership an easy time, President.
No, we're not going to give them a restful moment. It's time to pull up the socks and work even harder, but we congratulate them.
The President of Cosatu, thank you very much for your time there. The President of Cosatu obviously sharing his the new leadership, saying that this is happy and that this is really a victory for the ANC. This is not a victory for a particular camp or faction, but this is for the ANC, and he sees the ANC being able to unify, which was their key objective at this conference, that the ANC needs to leave at Nasrec a more stronger party. So still a lot more to happen. I'm just seeing on my right of my eye there, delegates are now arriving. Of course, that things are not going to get underway as far as we understand just yet, as there is going to still be that meeting which is underway by the steering committee that is looking into the possibility of a recount, and we're not confirming that as yet. We will be giving you latest developments on that as soon as that is available to us. Now, earlier on, we also said that we're awaiting a press conference by the ANC Women's League, and we understand that has been postponed until after this special steering committee meeting. All right, let's leave things here for now. Our coverage continues, but let's go for a short break.
Why is there a dispute over who is the rightful heir to the throne?
What I can say is that Masindi is a woman. She's a girl. She's a girl child. Because I think that if she was a male, there's no way that anybody was going to dispute the fact that she is the rightful heir.
Do you recognize her as your rightful heir?
Yeah, no, I would definitely say that she is my daughter. She grew up there.
What is the intention?
I want my throne.
Join me in Port Zedu live every Monday to Thursday at 17:30.
In the belly of the beast, the vulnerable are easy targets in the streets. Marauding gangs terrorize communities mercilessly. With no respect for human life. Animals are also not spared. The money business knows no boundaries. There is no respect for life. Helpless communities silenced by their pain. Can their last defense be in time to the rescue? Special assignment Saturday at 5:30 p.m. when we unravel the truth.
Welcome back. My name is Kendall Makhamat. It's time to bring you a little bit of what's happening in the sporting world. We start off with news from the PSL, where Mamelodi Sundowns have an opportunity to further stretch their lead at the summit of the Absa Premiership before the festive season break. The former league champions will host Cape Town City in their last league match of 2017 in Pretoria this evening, while SuperSport United will close the year off with a league clash against Bloemfontein Celtic.
Sundowns are currently 6 points clear of second place, the Kaizer Chiefs, with the 2 games in hand, including their match against Cape Town City tonight. Though it's still early days to be talking about reclaiming the league title, a win will put them firmly in pole position going into the second half of the season. Just like in 2015-16 season, where they won the league, Sundowns didn't enjoy the best of starts to this campaign, losing 3 of their 6 opening matches. However, Pitso Msimane's troops managed to turn things around, winning 6 of their last 7 league matches, scoring a total of 15 goals while only conceding 3 in the process. On paper, City go into this contest as clear underdogs. However, after achieving a league double over the men from Pretoria last season, they will be confident of positive results come kick-off. Of concern though for Benny McCarthy going into this game will be his team's poor results on the road. The Cape Townians have only managed to register a single away victory in the whole of this campaign, and that was against Ajax Cape Town in the Mara City. In what is said to be the final league match of the 2017, SuperSport United will travel to the City of Roses to play Bloemfontein Celtic on Wednesday evening. Matsatsansa Pitori reached the final of this year's CAF Confederations Cup. However, things haven't been smooth sailing in the league. Something they will look to correct, starting with the game against Celtic. Joseph Mohali, SABC News.
So now just a quick reminder, because this past weekend we had most of the Absa Premiership teams playing their final matches as the first half of the season came to an end. Now, here's a quick look at all those results just to remind you of where things stood come Monday morning. As you remember from Friday, Cape Town City beat Amazulu 1-0. They'll be hoping for the same form tonight when they're up against Mamelodi Sundowns. Chipa United also 1-0 score, but going the wrong way for them. Bloem Celtic losing 4-1 to Mamelodi Sundowns. These guys are on a run. They seem to be looking to give everybody, all their fans, a really happy Christmas. Free State Stars 2-1 beating Orlando Pirates at Cobu Park. Then in Durban, we had Ajax Cape Town against Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Chiefs and Steve Kompela doing well there, beating Ajax 1-0. Another 1-0 scoreline against Bidvest Spits, this time against Platinum Stars, and Bidvest Spits really making their home in the basement of the PSL. And on Sunday, Golden Arrows a 0-0 draw against Maritzburg United, and Baroka FC beating SuperSport United 3-1, getting back to some winning ways they were. Now a quick look at what you can expect to see. Just a quick reminder, tonight Mamelodi Sundowns against Cape Town City FC at Loftus, and Dr. Molimela tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. is Bloem Celtic against SuperSport United. Now we stay with football news, but we go to England this time, where Gylfi Sigurdsson's stunning goal against his former club maintained Everton's unbeaten record. Under Sam Allardyce was a 3-1 win against Swansea City. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with his 7th goal in all competitions, had brought Everton level after Leroy Fred given the visitors the lead with his first goal in 38 matches.
And they're on their way to an upset. They've been pushed into the box. And
now Wayne Rooney wrapped up the points of the penalty. Now he'd earlier missed the penalty before Calvert-Lewin knocked in the rebound for his 10th goal of the season. Now, the victory does see Everton rise to 9th, a heady spot given they were in relegation, and on the 23rd of October, and unbeaten in 5 matches under Allardyce.
It's a truly great goal.
Oh, it looks as though it could just have been outside the area, though, the initial touch, and I think that's what Olsen's complaining about.
His second penalty of the evening. He'll be hoping it's better than the first, and it is.
Well, there he was, Wayne Rooney scoring that penalty. Second chance, second bite to the cherry he had on that night. Now, John Florence of Hawaii has successfully defended his world crown, becoming the first male surfer since the late Andy Irons to successfully defend a maiden world title, which last happened 14 years ago. Florence claimed his second WSL title when France's Jeremy Flo eliminated world number 2 Gabriel Medina of Brazil in the quarterfinals of the Billabong Pipe Masters. Florence is also still in the running for the prestigious Billabong Pipe Masters crown, had to interrupt his world title celebrations to pedal out for his semi-final. Unfortunately for South African fans, Durban-born Jody Smith is out of the 2017 men's world title race after surfing legend Kelly Slater knocked him out in round 3. Now, Russian bobsledder Alexei Voivoda has been given a life ban from the Olympics for anti-doping violations at the Sochi Games, where he won 2 gold medals, the International Olympic Committee said. The decision comes 2 weeks after the IOC banned Russia from next year's Pyeongchang Winter Olympics for what it called unprecedented systematic manipulation of the anti-doping system. The 37-year-old Voivoda won gold in the 2-man and 4-man bobsled, but the IOC said he and the Russian team had been disqualified from both. Previously, Alexander Zhukov, Voivoda's teammate in both events, was also found guilty of anti-doping violations and also disqualified. Zhukov, who's denied any wrongdoing, has since appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Now, Ferrari chairman Sergio Marchionne says the Italian team could lead other Formula One teams into an alternative championship if the sport becomes too much like the US-based NASCAR series. Speaking to reporters at the Italian team's pre-Christmas lunch in Maranello, Marchionne says his previous threats to take Ferrari out of the sport after 2020 should not be taken lightly. There have been similar threats in the past from Ferrari before Marchionne's time, without any of them coming to anything. Marchionne also announced their February 22nd launch date for the team's 2018 car and said Ferrari should be challenging for the title after finishing runners-up to Mercedes this year. And that's where we're going to leave it for now with the sport. We do have time to bring you what's happening in the weather forecast. Stand by for Sihle.
Thank you very much. It is time to take a look at your weather. This is Newsroom Weather. Let's take a look at the satellite image first. We see some scattered showers here over the central parts of African Republic, and we do see a band of showers starting in Namibia, southern parts of Angola, stretching towards the interior of Northern Cape and passing by Botswana and ending up in towards Durban. Most of KZN expecting scattered showers for later on today, while clear skies persist in the north. And your rainfall output, we're expecting clear skies over the Northern Cape, while this band of showers, this band of clouds that we saw here in the northern Namibia, southern Angola, will spread towards the eastern parts of the country later on today, and overnight we're still seeing some showers, and tomorrow there's still a possibility of showers over the eastern parts of the country. But Madagascar still sees isolated showers today and tomorrow, and when you come back towards Mozambique, we still see those showers and more spreading towards the northern parts, towards Angola and most of the western coastline and northern Namibia for tomorrow. But let's take a quick look at your temperatures. Today we're expecting a high of 35 if you're in Uppington. Clear skies in Dar will lead you to 30 degrees as a maximum, and cooler conditions are expected in Cape Town with clear skies and a high of 25. While over the eastern parts, those rainfall that I spoke to you earlier, it's expected Durban to peak at 22, a cloudy day for the whole day, while Mbombela peaks at 25. And further north, we start to see warmer conditions starting in Polokwane, where we're seeing 29 as your maximum, and in places like Harare, it's at 30, but very hot conditions are to be taken care of, especially in places like Bulawayo, we're seeing 40 as your maximum, and Gaborone peaking at 38 degrees. Over the islands, we're seeing also still some showers in places like Finlandsora at 27, cooler weather in Antananarivo 26, while hot temperatures in Mahajanga 32 degrees. And coming back towards the central parts of Africa, we're seeing heavier rainfall in places like Mombasa, Kigali, and Dar es Salaam, while lighter showers are expected in Lusaka with a high of 31. Partly cloudy skies are expected expected in places over the central parts of the DRC, especially going towards Central African Republic, where we're not expecting rainfall, only partly cloudy skies. And over the coastal areas, we start to see heavier rainfall in Libreville and, of course, in Brazzaville and Kinshasa. Luanda today is peaking at 27 degrees. And looking at the extreme northern parts, we do see onshore flow here bringing about cloudy conditions and some isolated showers, but leaving the interior with clear skies and even hotter temperatures. And once again, in West Africa, we still see those coastal showers expected in places like Nigeria and, of course, most of Western Africa. And when you look at the Central African Republic, no rainfall expected. Temperatures, they're expecting Juba to peak at 37, while Addis Ababa is peaking at 19. Most of Ethiopia will be cooler with clear skies. And you see there, even in Sudan, we're seeing clear skies. Khartoum peaking at 36. And further north, we start to see cooler conditions in the extreme northern parts in places like Tehran at 16, while Cairo is at 27. Partly cloudy skies in Baghdad and Damascus. And when we look at your rainfall outputs in Western Africa, we do see that places like Algiers and Tripoli expecting some showers, including Benghazi, with even lower maximum temperatures. We're seeing highs of 13, all in the teens, lower maximum temperatures. Marrakesh peaking at 18, while in the south of West Africa, we do see still hot temperatures. Look at Lagos peaking at 31 and some heavier showers expected in Abidjan with a high of 28. But as we move towards the interior, we still see those clear skies and even hotter temperatures when, as you can see, Niamey at 39. Bamako in Mali sees a high of 35, and the rest of Mali is expecting clear skies. That's all I have for you now. You're watching Newsroom. Keep tuned, keep it locked here on SABC News.
Entrepreneurship and taking charge of your own destiny is a mindset, and it's something that should start at a very young age.
I started when I was around about 3 or something, because I have a bunch of paintings in the office. I have a teacher that teaches me and my class how to do business, and he was the one who taught me.
Being an entrepreneur makes you money-wise.
Before everyone spent their money, I would sell the little things I painted, and I'd sell my drawings and stuff like that.
In business, it is important to keep record of all your transactions.
I have a passion and I love making anything, so I chose to make Play-Doh, and I'm passionate about it.
Catch Bupilong every Friday at 17:30.
We pump up your energy, keeping you in action through sports updates while resting at home. This is what's happening in your world of sports every weekend.
In the second half, Kolisi and Jaco Kriel combined well, and Kolisi scored his second try. He was also named man of the match.
Confusion from the West defenders gifted Batosi with a close-range goal.
In the 10th round, he pinned a visibly fatigued McGregor on the ropes and hammered the Irishman before the referee stepped in to stop the bout.
quick. He's a tough competitor. He's a lot more experienced, especially in the layout.
Keep it locked on Sports Live every Saturday and Sunday at 20:30.
Welcome to Media Monitor, the show that analyzes the big news stories that made headlines. We bring you robust discussions on stories that made headlines in the week, where we interact with media analysts to unpack these top stories. Join me every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 Central African Time as I bring you riveting news and analysis.
Stay tuned to Media Monitor every Sunday from 9 a.m. We cross live, give updates and cover sport.
The observer missions, what are they saying?
It will be a very difficult announcement to make, to say whether these elections have been free and fair.
1 in every 100 people are diagnosed with arthritis daily. In an effort to raise awareness, a handful of elderly women, they took to the streets of Soweto to stretch their fight against the ailment.
Western Province upset the Sharks by 33 points to 21 to be crowned the 2017 Currie Cup champions at the Kings Park Stadium.
In Durban.
On time with weather every hour, all the time. For all news, stay tuned to AM News every Saturday and Sunday at 10:00 hours Central African Time.
Africans are increasingly using digital platforms for life, work and play.
Information is key for us. We live in an information age. We live in the digital age.
I'm mostly on WhatsApp because not all my friends have iPhones, so they don't have FaceTime.
On Network, we tell you about Africa's technology and social media landscape. And some here are using the internet to raise political concerns.
Some of the exposés on political issues come from what we call your diasporic online media.
Africans are also using technology to create. For African technology and social media news, join me, Phumelele Zondi, on Network every Sunday at 9 p.m.
Central African time, that is. We are live from Johannesburg, myself and Kenda Mahamate.
Now, good morning to you, Eben. Lots to cover this morning. Lots of reactions coming out of the ANC's elective conference room yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. The rand has been picked up, if you know what I mean. So we're asking you, what do you make of the ANC's new top six? Yes, they were elected. Much fanfare yesterday. Unity was the word. And what are the viewers saying about what happened?
Well, Tendi Mashamba comes in with people seem to have faith in this top six, and that is a sign of hope. They still have a lot to do, though.
No doubt. We all have a lot to do. Trinity tells us, for unity's sake, it is a good team. For ideology and perspectives, it is well divided. Yes, you can work with whoever, as long as you are prepared to cooperate. That is what is next. We're running a poll and we're asking about heading into the elections and restoring voters' confidence, Ken.
Yes, and we've got quite a few votes that have come in already, 693 on this poll. We're asking you, do you think the new ANC top six will regain voters' confidence or not? And still, 50-50.
50-50. I think that's the mood in the country. Even the voting processes within the ANC reflects that 50-50 divided opinion. Right down the middle is where we are, well, where we are seeing the support base and the confidence ultimately in this top six. So the data are there, but there's a lot of positivity that's coming up.
Yes, it has. You can also see it in the Rand-dollar exchange. The Jungan analyst says it's too early to tell. We have just taken a new pot to the fire. Still wait to see how it will cook. It's the same fire that's been burning that will cook the new pot. Some of the stale wood is still there, says the Jungan analyst.
Nice use of words there. Michael Amnisi says to us, yep, they will work. I'm 100% sure corruption have no space to the top six. Yes, some they've worked under Jay-Z. He was leading them with his iron hand. Now he's over. Hashtag CR17, our leader, our new leader. Those are the sentiments. Keep it coming, keep tweeting us. You're watching Newsroom. You're live on channel 404. Let's just take the sports question with Kendall first.
Absolutely. We're looking ahead to tonight's match between Mamelodi Sundowns and Cape Town City. Want to find out from you, what do you make of it? Do you think Mamelodi Sundowns will be able to maintain their unbeaten streak when they meet Benny McCarthy's Cape Town City?
Kulele Gondlobo tells us Sundowns, they are unstoppable. Yes, it's not even Christmas yet.
Yep, and I've got many a Sundowns fans saying, yes, exactly, that's what's going to happen tonight. They will beat Cape Town City. Well, let's wait and see. Loiso said everything is possible in football. According to their form, they will, though.
You could end up in Cape Town tonight with a howling gale. With a howling gale, and then it's a different football match. But let's wait and see what happens. Yeah. Always difficult to play at the coast here in South Africa. Anyhow, time now for us to take a look at our top stories right now. Messages of support and best wishes continue to trickle in for the ANC's newly elected top six and President Cyril Ramaphosa. Eskom has again denied reports that its suspended acting CEO, Machela Koko, has been reinstated by the power utility. And in the United States, an Amtrak passenger train traveling on a new route for the first time derailed in Washington state, killing at least 3 people. Let's go to Kendall for your sport.
Eben, thank you very much. Looking forward to a whole lot of sporting action from tonight, but this is what we've got for you in the sports bulletin today.
One goal, and that's a great ball. Now passing down is in here. Chance for down, and finally!
Mamelodi Sundowns are on a 6-match unbeaten run. They take to the field against Cape Town City ahead of the PSL's Christmas break.
Rooney's second penalty of the evening. He'll be hoping it's better than the first, and it is.
Wayne Rooney comes good with his second penalty for Everton as the Toffees crushed Swansea City 3-1 in the English Premiership last night. And Ferrari threatens to stage a walkout of the Liberty-owned Formula One if the sport becomes too much like the US-based NASCAR series. Now, Ferrari have been unhappy with Formula One for some time now. Let's see what happens going into the new season. All this and more a little later. Do stay with Eben as he's got the news.
Yeah, thank you, Kendall. Developing story coming from Nasrec is that the ANC's steering committee, well, they've called an emergency meeting this morning, which you believe will deal with alleged irregularities during yesterday's top six elections. Now, there are allegations that 68 delegates who the electoral officials said were absent from the vote for Secretary General were actually there. These delegates were allegedly told that they did not appear on the conference voters' roll. 4,776 delegates were cleared to vote by credentials, but the Election Commission said 4,708, or just over 98%, cast their ballots. Now, this position is what is now being questions. Let's go to Nasrec to hear from Peter Ndoro if there's any development. Peter?
Okay, hi.
Hello, Eben. Yeah, this 68 votes will continue to be an issue for some time now. The steering committee is still behind closed doors, busy trying to resolve this issue. And as I was saying earlier on, apparently Jessie Duarte, the Secretary General, is being criticized because this issue came up yesterday, and she was encouraged to try and call for a steering committee meeting as early as yesterday before the results were announced. And so now we're at this situation. Jackson Mthembu issued a statement saying that it's been discovered that 63 votes for Senzo Mchunu were not counted for the South Coast, Far North region and one region in Limpopo. And this matter will be discussed now to conference, and a recount has been requested. So that's from a statement by Jackson Mthembu. It looks like they're pushing for the 68 votes to be fully accounted for, because by all accounts, it may be that this may reverse the decision for the Secretary General, which was won by Ace Magashule by just 24 votes. And if you look at 24 and the 68 missing, they reckon, Jackson Mthembu reckons 63 of those should have gone to Senzo Kunu. So we're watching that space. The ANC Women's League was supposed to have a presser at 10 o'clock, of course, and that couldn't happen because the steering committee involves all the leagues as well. And so the ANC Women's League had to be there. Postponed. We don't know when that might happen, but we wait. But I think critically today, the big story is going to be how the Electoral Commission is going to have to account for the 68 votes that some are saying went missing mysteriously. But a lot more other things are happening. The other committees are supposed to be meeting later on the day to adopt policy. But right now, Ntakwana is standing just studio and is going to be talking to one of the friends of the African National Congress, and that's the PLO.
Well, Peter, you've summed it up succinctly to say that we had expected this area to be a hive of activity now with the election of the fuller NEC, but of course that has been delayed. But other business that is supposed to happen here at this conference, as you said, is adoption of policies. And one of those policies expected to be adopted was presented by the subcommittee of the NEC prior to this conference is the issue of international relations. But more specifically, and we asked that committee about issues like Western Sahara, issues like Israel that they were ready to talk about. But also, before this particular conference, Jessie Duarte came out to say that the position of the ANC has not changed, even after America declared that it recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. But here to talk to me more about the international relations aspect of this conference is Ibrahim. Tell us, when can we expect that commission, first of all, to sit and talk about these issues?
Well, I think the commission is going to meet this afternoon. Yeah, I think they're still finalizing something in the plenary. We were supposed to meet in the morning, but I'm told now we'll meet after lunch.
And particularly with regard to this issue that I'm talking about now, as I say, Jessie Duarte, the former Deputy Secretary General, now elected or re-elected Deputy Secretary General, spoke out to say that the ANC's position has not changed in regard to Israel, that the ANC still believes that the people of Israel, rather the people of Palestine, should actually have Jerusalem as their capital, even though the United States has now declared it as the capital of Jerusalem. What is the general position?
Well, the general position is that we have always recognized East Jerusalem as the future capital of the Palestinians. That hasn't changed. And I think despite what Trump has done, I think the international consensus is still there, even from the EU, that East Jerusalem should be the capital of Palestine. And that position hasn't changed at all.
But now concern is that the ANC's voice has not been loud enough. In fact, I even asked to say, are you not now speaking out because, as some say, Trump has thrown a grenade in the conflict in Israel, if you like?
No, our position on Palestine, on Israel, has been very clear. All our resolution in all our conferences, we expressed strong support for the Palestinian people. Even while we were in exile, we had strong support, and we even shared trenches with the PLO and the Palestinian. So our position has always been support of the Palestinian for an independent state in the West Bank, with East Jerusalem as its capital. That position has always been, and even now the ANC issued a very, very strong statement condemning Trump's move.
But what can South Africa do? Can South Africa sever relations with the US or with Israel?
Well, I don't think we have diplomatic relations. It's not easy to sever relations with, but the popular view I pick up that we should look at whether we could downgrade our embassy in Tel Aviv. But that's a matter that the Commission will have to discuss and take a decision on.
Now, let's talk to the issue of Sahrawi, for instance. Now, we understand again that the ANC has not changed its position. It still wants the people of Western Sahara to have their own self-determination. but we saw President Zuma meet with the King of Morocco prior to this conference. We also asked the committee about this issue, and they said that government has the right to meet with any other government, regardless of what their relations are. But we then understood that the ANC had spoken out about the readmission of Morocco into the African Union, and in fact did not vote for it, but was outbitten in the voting itself. What is the current position?
Well, the government of South Africa, because the ANC is not a member of the African Union, the South African government is, and the South African government opposed Morocco's inclusion in the AU. And the position of the position of the ANC and the South African government is that there should be self-determination of the people of Sahrawi. And we are very strong. We have an embassy here of Sahrawi, and we are strong supporters of the struggle of the Sahrawi people for independence. Yeah.
And are there any other issues that you think that will come out of this particular commission with countries specifically outside of the two that we've spoken about?
Well, in our policy conference, we did pass a resolution on the Kurdish issue and the release of Abdullah Öcalan, the Kurdish leader who is in prison in Turkey. And I think that the Kurdish issue, the ANC has never had an issue about the Kurdish people. We've always had issues about Palestine, Sahrawi, Cuba. But I think there is a view now that we should discuss the Kurdish issue and see whether we could not support the human rights of the Kurdish people.
Thank you very much. That is Mr. Ibrahim. He's a member of that International Relations Commission that is expected to meet later this afternoon. But these are just some of the commissions that probably will be delayed if that steering committee meeting does not decide in time what is supposed to happen. But of course, the outcome of that steering committee meeting will also determine what happens with the top 6 that has already been elected and the election of that pending NEC. Peter.
Well, it's not Peter, it's me. Anyhow, good job there from Nazareth, keeping us updated as to what's happening there. Yes, talking about 68 missing votes. 68 missing votes. Some claim that 63 are for one candidate already. So there's a lot of talking going on behind the scenes right now. Right here on this very channel, we'll keep you updated as to how that develops, what's coming out of this ANC steering committee meeting. Of course, if you remember, there was supposed to be a Women's League press conference taking place at 10 o'clock this morning. Now, I can tell you that, well, it's been postponed until this issue around the, well, voting irregularity. If that is sorted out within the next little bit of time, well, we'll bring you the announcement as to what's the way forward. But right now, let's take a closer look at the Deputy President, the man who ascended the throne of the ANC yesterday. Now President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, his progression to presidential candidate.
Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa was born in Soweto, Johannesburg. He matriculated at Mapupudi High School in Sibasa Venda. He studied law at University of the North and upon completion received B.Proc degree from UNISA. As a student, he joined SASCO, the South African Student Organization, and the BPC, Black People's Convention. He was detained for his involvement in organizing pro-Frelimo Morales. He was held in solitary confinement for 11 months. He was detained again, held for 6 months. During this time, he began to question his role in the BPC, deciding that ideology of black consciousness had become full circle. It could take us no further. He joined a firm of attorneys as an article clerk. Ramaphosa completed a B.Proc at UNISA and joined the Council of Unions of South Africa as a legal advisor. And it was in this position until 1991 where CUSA advised him to establish the Union of Mine Workers. He was arrested and briefly detained under the now defunct Righteous Assemblies Act in Leboa. He left CUSA, helping to form the Congress of the South African Trade Unions, Cosatu. Between 1985 and 1986, he helped organize 2 major countrywide NUM strikes. He received the Olof Palme Prize in October 1987 in Stockholm. in an annual prize awarded for an outstanding achievement in the spirit of All of Palm. He resigned from NUM as Secretary General. That same year, he was elected Secretary General of the ANC. When Cosatu joined forces with the United Democratic Front against the PW border regime. When Nelson Mandela was released from prison, Ramaphosa was on the National Reception Committee.
Winning. Moving around the car.
He became Secretary General of the ANC from 1991 to 1994. In his capacity as a General Secretary, he became the head of the negotiations commissions of the ANC and participated in the Conference for Democratic South Africa, CODESA.
And also ensuring that you end up with a democratic result.
On May 24, Ramaphosa was elected chairperson of the Constitutional Assembly, member of parliament between 1994 and 96. After Thabo Mbeki was chosen as president to succeed Mandela, Ramaphosa decided to leave politics and enter the business world.
Comrade Ramaphosa will resign his position as a member of parliament once the constitution writing process is completed. His position as member of the National Executive Committee and Secretary General of the ANC remains unchanged. On behalf of the entire National Executive Committee of the ANC, I wish to take this opportunity to commend my comrade and colleague, Cyril Ramaphosa, for the important contribution he has made in building our organization, the ANC, in the nation-building effort, and in the broader task of reconstruction and development. I am confident that all these strengths will continue to draw from his immense leadership qualities.
Well, as the President has said, my position in the National Executive Committee and as Secretary General remains unchanged. No doubt these matters are going to be discussed further, and we will have to work out exactly what type of involvement I continue to have in the organization itself as an official of the organization, and also what role and time I also give in the private sector. So that will still be discussed in further detail later.
Ramaphosa was a special envoy to observe the conflict between Palestinians and Israel following Israel's armed occupation of cities controlled by the Palestinian National Authority. He was appointed chairperson of the Jonic Holdings Limited. He became a member of the National Executive Committee, a position he held until today. He was an advisor for the Government National Planning Commission. Ramaphosa's name was prominent on the second day of the Marikana Judicial Commission, in an email in which Ramaphosa strongly condemned the protests, described them as criminal acts, and suggested concomitant action. Cyril Ramaphosa was accused of having had an influence on the events which led to the Marikana shootings on 16 August 2012. Ramaphosa agreed to testify after calls were made for him either to apologize or to account for his part in the shooting. He was elected to the post of ANC Deputy President at the ANC's 53rd National Conference, appointed Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa in 2015. Ramaphosa served as SADC's facilitator on Lesotho. By 20th October 2014, Ramaphosa had traveled to the Mountain Kingdom 4 times in an effort to secure a political solution to Lesotho's problem. Lehana Tsotetsi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Yeah, that was a look back at the career, political career that is, of, well, the now President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa. Just to give you a quick little update, we still don't have any movement on that story about the ANC Steering Committee that's meeting at Nasrec discussing allegations that 68 delegates who the electoral officials said were absent from the vote were actually there. It's a discussion that's being had right now, and as soon as it develops, we'll bring you that development. Yes, 98% of the ballots were cast, but the small number is where there's a little bit of discussion around. Now, a little bit earlier, we were joined by political analyst Busisiwe Kaba She's a political science lecturer and researcher at Monash University.
Certainly, it was very close, you know. Firstly, I think that, you know, the number of voting delegates, the total number of voting delegates was 4,776,
yes,
and only 4,708 of them pitched. I'm just wondering, you know, on top of my head, what happened to the rest.
I heard there's a recount. Well, just to update you, if you've just joined us, we're actually double-checking the facts right now. There's a recount that's been called for, actually, and it looks at that missing 68 votes that you're talking about. Are those votes in question? In the end, though, it won't be making any difference, as the winning margin was 179 votes. So if you read it like that, it's probably not going to make a difference to the final result. But that, of course, will have to be verified.
Yeah, no, certainly. And I'm sure that the Electoral Commission, you know, had to audit the results beforehand.
Yeah.
But it would have made a difference for the position of Secretary General, for instance. I mean, Senzo Mchunu lost by 24 votes to Ace Magashule. That would have made a big significance.
I think that might be the big focus of the recount, and the big talking point, I think, throughout today is the fact that that's probably the position that's going to be in dispute, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, I suppose so, but I mean, the results are final. My understanding is that, and I think everything was done constitutionally, so I don't believe that there could be any other added information or a dispute in terms of the outcome of the of the elections that they were having. So I suppose, you know, this is it. This is what we see now, the top 6 official. And I mean, there's a lot of personalities as well.
Yeah.
For me, that stands out. For instance, how a Cyril Ramaphosa president will work with someone like David Mabuza.
Yeah.
And it's always been a two slate that we keep referring to. You know,
yeah, it's definite. Some point out Ace Magashule and David Mabuza as the other side of the top 6, as it become known now over the last 24 hours. But let's take a look at the poll, because it deals directly with the question that I want to ask you. No matter who's been selected now, unity's been the discussion, and in the end, what is on screen is what they should be focusing on, is regaining voters' confidence. This top 6, do you think that they have it within them to do that and regain voters' confidence before 2019? As you can see, 50-50%, people are split completely down the middle as to whether they'll be able to regain voters' confidence. What's your view?
Yeah, that is the most interesting thing, because they only have, like, the ANC has 1 year to assert itself. If Cyril Ramaphosa was representing the anti-Zuma, anti-corruption, anti-state capture notion, then now he has to implement it. And that only gives him a year, and that maybe can be used to regain voter confidence for 2019. And I don't think it will be that easy. It's a short space of time in which he needs to assert himself. And I certainly don't think it will be an easy task for him.
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of speculation about what follows next. But let's talk about power within the ANC, because now we have a president. He sits at the Union Buildings, and we have a president at Luthuli House. How is that going to play out over the next year, in the context of you talking this very, difficult situation?
We'll really see a power struggle of some sort. I mean, there's 2 centers of power, having Cyril Ramaphosa as the president of the ANC, and on the other hand, President Jacob Zuma remains president of the state. There will be obviously some contradictions going forward, particularly on issues of corruption, etc. Because then, you know, you have to assert himself. You know, how will he be able to project that power? Yeah, that will be a very interesting to see how it will all go down. And I don't think that, you know, a lot of people maybe are speculating that, you know, they may try and recall President Zuma. So I suppose that,
that's the big question mark. Of course, everyone is asking that. It's the populist question today. I'm a little bit more interested in what happened at the conference itself with regards to the voting. We saw the numbers are almost split exactly. It's two definite strong camps within it. The push was for unity. Unity above all else almost. Now, when we look at this top six, what's the responsibility on the members of the top six to guide the way forward with regards to unity? Let's start with a guy like David Mabuza and Ace Magashule. What do they have to do going forward to show the necessary unity of leadership?
Unfortunately, those guys don't have the best reputation out there, you know, and they're not helping the image of the ANC as well. So I suppose if they really are interested in this unity and also gaining voter confidence, going back to your previous question, it's incumbent upon them that, you know, they will have to try and sort of, you know, project this image of whether it's a facade or not, that they are unified and they are forging forward just to gain the voter confidence. So that's quite important for me. They don't have the best image in terms of the brand ANC as well. And also, you know, Cyril Ramaphosa, as much as it's seen that he has a win, there's still the issue of Marikana, which will obviously be raised by opposition parties in 2019 to this campaign.
That is true. You talk about Cyril Ramaphosa, and within unity, what does he have to do? He has to look after the president. Does he have those kinds of responsibilities? Others, of course, are tweeting already. Opposition parties are out and saying that, well, how he treats the president will set the tone.
Yes, certainly. And there's also, he has some sort of leverage with the court outcome of him having to choose, because he's still deputy president of the state. So he has some leverage in terms of appointing the new head for the NPA, for instance, and also commissioning a commission of inquiry into state capture. We'll see how that happens, you know. And whatever decision that he makes, it will always be seen by the different slate to be, you know, okay, he's, you know, not playing by the book, or he's, you know, there's still a power struggle within the ANC itself, and the second power struggle is also outside of the ANC. It will be a really interesting relationship that they're going to have.
I think everyone's going to be watching it very closely. Let's quickly talk about President Jacob Zuma. He announced free higher education in the run-up to this announcement. Caused quite a stir. Of course, people say we don't have the money. What do you think was the plan? Is it as simple as saying legacy?
That's interesting. I think it was very opportunistic. I'll start with the timing. I mean, you don't make such an announcement at this time. And also, it happened simultaneously while the Minister of Finance was speaking, you know, and he announces that there will be free higher education. So for me, I'm not sure if he meant this to campaign a particular individual, or also to throw Cyril Ramaphosa under the bus, because now he has to deliver on that. There is an expectation. January is just a few days coming, and now there's an expectation that there will be this free higher education. You know, I don't think the ANC is really helping itself, and I don't think there was proper consultation with all the forums that need to be, including Treasury as well, to discuss where the money will come from.
Points up for discussion over the next little bit of time. It's going to make interesting talking points over the festive season for us here in South Africa, and well into the new year, of course. The political year starts with the January 8th statement, and then from there, there's lots and lots of interesting developments to follow right up until the State of the Nation address somewhere in the middle of February. But we've been asking you the question, what do you make of the ANC's new top six? A lot has been said about it. Some say it's a unity top six, 3 and 3, and that should keep the ANC from splitting. But these are your tweets. FMB4 tells us, Newsroom delegates killed slate politics. The task ahead is to fully implement the Freedom Charter. Jay-Z gave us free education. Land is next, says Mokhale Mayeko. Now, Lebogang tweets us, the top six is proper progressive force, long awaited to deliver radical economic transformation. I totally condone and comply. And this one from Bambata, who says to us, Newsroom, the top 6 will succeed. It depends who is at the top. Top 6 under Zuma is different from the one under CR17, says Bambata. Keep tweeting us. That's what we've been asking you. Keep telling us what you're thinking. We're also running a poll that you've been voting on. Here's the live results from that poll this morning. Of course, we're dealing with voter confidence in the poll as opposed to the work of just the top 6. Can they regain voters' confidence? And it should say there before 2019. Now, it's been a close run thing the whole day. 739 votes in now. 50-50 split down the middle. Well, remember, the presidential election at the ANC conference was 50.5% to roughly 49.5%. So, similar kind of numbers emerging from you who are watching. We're going to take a short little break. You're watching Newsroom right here on SABC News.
Our stories.
How do I begin?
Our lives. When all seems to fail, we will raise our voices a bit louder for our justice.
I went into absolute shock. My whole body was shaking. I couldn't hold a phone, but there he was. I couldn't believe the nonchalant that they were still in the area 2 weeks later.
And in times when the justice system is not able to help us with our individual battles,
I'm willing to do anything. What are you doing? Nothing. Feeling sorry for yourself? No, it's not an option.
These are our stories on Cutting Edge Channel 404.
Show me a greater power on the whole continent of Africa. Show me a greater power anywhere.
6th of June 1918 was the establishment of our movement to maintain that.
We need to do something about the educational upliftment of the Afrikaner, and we also need to do something about the economic upliftment of the Afrikaner. And that was the two main goals at that stage in 1918.
The Broederbond never was a cultural organization. It was a state-capturing organization. It is, in fact...
I like that term.
It has captured the financial systems. It has captured the parastatals. It has captured cultural organizations.
For all your constitutional and legal matters, tune into Rights and Recourse on Sundays between 2 and 3 Central African Time.
Yeah, hello again, everybody. I'm coming almost to an end to my little stint here back on the Newsroom show. It's been great to be with you, but, well, there'll be better replacements in tomorrow, I'm sure. Of course, it's day 4 of the 54th ANC Elective Conference. It's happening at Nasrec in Johannesburg. Now, on the sidelines of the conference, the Progressive Business Forum, they've been hosting breakfast briefings with various ministers within the economic cluster. The Minister of Economic Development, Ibrahim Patel, a little bit earlier addressed the briefing on economic inclusion. Now, the SABC News, we talk to the Minister shortly after. I'll see you soon.
I think one of our big challenges is making sure that this economy provides opportunity for young people, for black South Africans, for women, in other words, for the broader range of talents that we know South Africans have, to come into this economy, to make things, to grow things, to dig things, to sell things. That really is what we need to do. And when we do that, we grow the economy, there's more tax revenues, there's more jobs. And the challenge that we face in doing that, one of the many challenges, is that we have a highly concentrated economy. By a concentrated economy, I mean that there are certain sectors of the economy where 3-4 companies absolutely dominate the entire production of that sector. Now, economic concentration comes with costs to the economy, higher prices, less growth, less innovation. But sometimes concentration is economic necessity. if you're in an industry where you need to do large production runs, and if you locate it in South Africa, it means it will be concentrated. So we need to get the facts on the table. We need to make sure that the evidence is there to see, does high levels of economic concentration damage competition? Does it restrict the entry of black South Africans into the economy? And is it bad for small business? And that's now power that we want to give to the competition authorities. We want to give them the ability to do market inquiries where that is the object of the market inquiry.
Minister, you spoke about a survey that was conducted and you reached this conclusion that the markets are this concentrated. Tell us a little bit more about that survey.
There's an international economic index that's used. It's called the HHI. And essentially what it does, it looks at the market share of companies in a national economy. It's used, for example, by the United States Justice Department. Whenever there is a merger where one company wants to buy another company, they apply that index. And the Competition Commission in South Africa looked at that index, they applied it. They looked at 2,000 merger studies that were done in South Africa, and they found a number of sectors where South Africa can be described as highly concentrated. In other words, where ownership in those sectors is in the hands of only a few companies. Now, that helps to inspire our work. We now want to investigate what are the factors that causes it. Are they factors that we have some control over? Is it technology that is driving the concentration? Is it because you need enormously high levels of capital? Or is it because the companies practice exclusion? Is it that the licenses that the public sector issue provides opportunities only for a few? So it's once we get into that detail that the right remedies can be prescribed by the competition authorities.
Why do you feel that this way of going forward is better than implementing a law?
Well, this is a law of a type, but our option is we could either pass a law that just prohibits any form of economic concentration. But there's nowhere in the world where you have a law like that. Economies are dynamic, complex things, and we've got to recognize that in a globalized world, we want large South African companies that can go out there, sell their products and create jobs here in South Africa, because we're beginning to take market share elsewhere in the world too. But at the same time, we must recognize the cost of economic concentration. So we need to look carefully, case by case. Does economic concentration warrant an intervention? And what we'd like to do, our policy position, is to focus on deconcentrating the market, creating opportunities for more South Africans to come in, making sure that you don't have a market structure where 3 or 4 companies alone can dominate a sector, unless there are compelling reasons that we can't do anything about. And it's that, I think, that we're trying to do, to make sure that our policy proposals are bold, that we transform the economy, that we change the lives of people, but we do it in such a way that we still ensure that we have a strong, dynamic, growing economy.
Welcome to Media Monitor, the show that analyzes the big news stories that made headlines. We bring you robust discussions on stories that made headlines in the week, where we interact with media analysts to unpack these top stories. Join me every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 Central African Time as I bring you riveting news and analysis.
Stay tuned to Media Monitor every Sunday from 9 a.m.
Welcome back. It's that time again. Time for the sports. The time has just hit 18 minutes before midday. My name is Kendall Makhamate. Now, Mamelodi Sundowns have got an opportunity to further stretch their lead at the summit of the Absa Premiership before the festive season break. The former league champions will host Cape Town City in the very last league match of 2017 in Pretoria this evening, while SuperSport United will close the year off with a league clash against Bloemfontein Celtic.
Sundowns are currently 6 points clear of second place, the Kaizer Chiefs, with the 2 games in hand, including their match against Cape Town City tonight. Though it's still early days to be talking about reclaiming the league title, a win will put them firmly in pole position going into the second half of the season. Just like in 2015-16 season, where they won the league, Sundowns didn't enjoy the best of starts to this campaign, losing 3 of their 6 opening matches. However, Pitso Msimane's troops managed to turn things around, winning 6 of their last 7 league matches, scoring a total of 15 goals while only conceding 3 in the process. On paper, City go into this contest as clear underdogs. However, after achieving a league double over the men from Pretoria last season, they will be confident of positive results come kick-off. Of concern, though, for Benny McCarthy going into this game will be his team's poor results on the road. The Capetonians have only managed to register a single away victory in the whole of this campaign, and that was against Ajax Cape Town in the Mara City. In what is said to be the final league match of the 2017, SuperSport United will travel to the City of Roses to play Bloemfontein Celtic on Wednesday evening. Matsatsansa Pitori reached the final of this year's CAF Confederations Cup. However, things haven't been smooth sailing in the league. Something they will look to correct, starting with the game against Celtic. Joseph Mohali, SABC News.
Now, to be remiss of me to go into tonight's matches without bringing you the results of that massive weekend we just had, where most of the Absa Premiership teams actually played their final matches of the year. Here's a quick look at those results from Friday through to Sunday. You remember that Cape Town City, the 1-0 win against AmaZulu was well fought for, well won. And then we had Chipa United losing 1-0 to Polokwane City at home. Mamelodi Sundowns absolutely destroying Bloemfontein Celtic in Pretoria, the venue for tonight's match, which I'll get to just now. Free State Stars 2-1 against Orlando Pirates at Gobo Park, and then Kaizer Chiefs a 1-0 win against Ajax Cape Town in Durban. Platinum Stars getting 1 over Bidvest, who are cemented and rooted to the bottom of the PSL table. And what a travesty it is that these are the defending champions of the PSL from last season. And then on Sunday, Golden Arrows a 0-0 draw against Maritzburg United, and Baroka FC, who used to be joint log leaders, are 3-1 beating SuperSport United. Tonight, 7:30 p.m. Loftus Versfeld is where Mamelodi Sundowns are up against Cape Town City. That's just as a reminder. And of course, SuperSport United, the other Pretoria team, playing Bloem Celtic at the Dr. Mulimela Stadium tomorrow night. Now, Gylfi Sigurdsson's stunning goal against his former club maintained Everton's unbeaten record under Sam Allardyce with a 3-1 win against Swansea. Now, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with his 7th goal in all competitions, had brought Everton level after Leroy Finn had given the visitors a lead with his first goal in 38 matches. Wayne Rooney wrapped up the points with a penalty he had early on. I'd say before Calvert-Lewin locked out the rebound. This was his 10th goal of the season.
Calvert-Lewin is responsible for it.
Now, victory does see Everton rise to ninth, a heady spot, given that they were in the relegation places just on the 23rd of October. Now, this unbeaten, they've been unbeaten in 5 matches under Allardyce. And as you can see, here's the penalty that Rooney finally got to redeem himself in front of the Everton faithful.
Fabianski went the right way, but the pace and the power had too much. 3-1.
Now to a little reported sport, surfing. John Florence of Hawaii has successfully defended his world crown, becoming the first male surfer since the late Andy Irons to successfully defend a maiden world title, which last happened 14 years ago. Florence claimed his second WSL title when France's Jeremy Flaw eliminated world number 2 Gabriel Medina of Brazil in the quarterfinals of the Billabong Pipe Masters. Florence, who's also still in the running for the prestigious Billabong Pipe Masters crown, had to interrupt his world title celebration to paddle out for his semi-final. Unfortunately for South African fans, Durban-born Jody Smith is out of the 2017 men's world title after surfing legend Kelly Slater knocked him out in round 3. Now, Russian bobsledder Alexei Voevoda has been given a life ban from the Olympics for anti-doping violations at the Sochi Games, where he won 2 golds, the International Olympic Committee has reported. The decision comes 2 weeks after the IOC banned Russia from next year's Pyeongchang Winter Olympics for what it called unprecedented systematic manipulation of the anti-doping system. The 37-year-old Voevoda won gold in the 2-man and 4-man bobsled, but the IOC said both he and the Russian team had been disqualified from both events. Previously, Alexander Zhukov, Voevoda's teammate in both events, was also found guilty of anti-doping violations and disqualified. Zhukov, who was denied any wrongdoing, has since appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Now, Ferrari chairman Sergio Marchionne says the Italian team could lead other Formula One teams into an alternative championship if the sport becomes too much like the US-based NASCAR series. Speaking to reporters at the Italian team's pre-Christmas lunch in Maranello, Marchionne says his previous threats to take Ferrari out of the sport after 2020 should not be taken lightly. There have been similar threats in the past from Ferrari before Marchionne's time, without any of them coming to naught. Marchionne also announced a February 22nd launch date for the team's 2018 car and said Ferrari should be challenging for the title after finishing runners-up to Mercedes this year. Well, let's hope that Ferrari don't leave Formula One. They're iconic. We're all going to be missing the prancing horse if it does leave Formula One. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. You have been watching Newsroom. It's been great to have Evan Janssen do a cameo with his baby here in Newsroom. But we'll be back with the regular team, hopefully tomorrow. Until then, le saling sentle.